We can have your attention, please. Before we begin, if everyone can take out their cell phones, handhelds, personal devices, they have to be powered down. They can't be on vibrate, silent, or any mode other than powered down. So if we could take a moment to do that, please. If you are speaking this evening, whether you're presenting or you are discussing an application, we please ask that you talk into the microphone, direct all comments, questions, and concerns to this board, not to one another. If you do need to discuss any matter, please take it out into the hallway. It interferes with our opportunity to hear those that are speaking. And as always, we're going to be courteous to one another and also be conscious of time. Before we begin as well, we're going to request that the meeting be open for this evening. So motion to open this evening's meeting.
I make a motion to open the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for January 12, 2015.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Welcome to the January 12, 2015 meeting of the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Preservation. Happy New Year to everyone and welcome back. My name is Curtis Highsmith and I am your chair. I'd like to introduce our panel. Unfortunately, we are not going to have Ham Hogue this evening. It is his birthday and he's celebrating, so we'll say happy birthday to Ham. He is a ham. But we'd like to welcome Esther Pastor, Christina Redding, Brian Brady. We also like to welcome our historic consultant, Zach Studenroth. Unfortunately, our legal counsel, Bo Robinson, is not going to be here this evening. But as always, Antoinette, we welcome you as well. We're going to start this evening's meeting with signs. If you could do our call for the evening, our sign permits.
First up permit is for Nest Seekers, a real estate sign.
Is the applicant present? Nest Seekers. I know we had an issue with regards to the exclusive. And this is the second time this application has come before us. If we can get a letter to the applicant.
I don't even have it on the agenda. That's why.
You don't have it on your agenda.
That's been around for a while, actually.
Well, if it's not on your agenda and it's not part of the meeting, and
It was adjourned last meeting.
Okay.
It was.
since this is adjourned, it doesn't need to be closed. Next application, please.
Next application is for Rite Aid, 82 Nugent Street, for a storefront sign.
Your name for the record, please.
Aaron Pelagian. You need me to spell it? Okay.
Okay, so you're changing the,
It's for the window graphics.
the window. They're just decals, correct?
Yes.
They will be interior,
Yeah, I believe so.
nothing lit, nothing
No,
backlit, nothing.
no. There are existing ones. We're just, they've aged. They
Swapping
show
them
their age. We're swapping them out.
Okay,
Can I see?
sure. Brian, any comments?
No, I think it's kind of interesting the way that we're doing this these days.
Esther, any comments?
I have no issue.
Christine?
No.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the sign for Rite Aid, 82 Nugent Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application, please.
Next application is for KB Building, a contractor sign.
Please step forward. Your name for the record, please.
Konstantin Bolidze.
I'm sorry?
Konstantin Bolidze.
Okay. Contractor sign.
Yes.
You have your logo, your name, your company, telephone number, website, and email address.
Yes.
This is a replica of what you're proposing?
Yes. That's actually what it is.
That's what it is. Brian, any comments?
Just that it's a lot of information. Maybe we don't need the email address?
I agree. Same.
What about the email address in the website?
Either, just.
One or the other. Pick
I
one.
think the website would be more.
I'll keep the website.
You
Okay.
keep the website. Okay. Any public comment on the application? So the motion will be to approve with the elimination of the the email address or what?
Email.
Email address.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve KB Building, the contractor sign, keeping the www website, eliminating the email.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next application, please.
Next application is for Hertz Rental Cars.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Ron Fisher for the applicant.
Wooden sign?
Yes. PVC.
PVC, not backlit.
No lighting.
Yellow, black lettering.
Yes. Yep, just like that.
Is it replacing an existing sign?
Yeah, they have two existing signs. That's their new logo. It's got the colors reversed.
Brian, any comments?
No, I'm fine with it.
Christine?
No. Hurts. Fine.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the sign for Hertz Rental Cars.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Next application is for Pottery Barn, 1 Hampton Road.
Hi, I'm Christina Magrins with Callison Architects. So the main change is Pottery Barn Kids will no longer be occupying the space. So Pottery Barn will be extending into that side area. So they just want to replace the Pottery Barn Kids sign with Pottery Barn. And there's no
Talking to
illumination. Well, it's a whole new black sign, but
Any comments, Brian?
No, it's fine.
Christine?
That's fine.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the sign for Pottery Barn.
thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That concludes our sign permits for this evening. Before we begin, just in case anyone's here, and I would hate for them to stay in the entire meeting to discuss the matter, on Barbara Wilson, it has been requested to adjourn until 2/23/2014. I'm sorry, 2000, well, it says 14. It's 2015. So if anyone's here to discuss that matter, it will not be open for discussion. First application, historic.
Thomas and Meredith Joyce, 765 Hill Street, for demolition of existing structures.
Good evening. Richard S. Fernan Fischetti, 320 Hampton Road, Southampton. As I stated to you the last time I was here, I represent the contract vendees of this property. Their names are James and Tara McCahill. Jonathan Platt, who represents the Joyce family, has been here with me before, intended to be here this evening. He had a family emergency. He had to fly to Florida. He has handed up to me, emailed to me a letter that I'm going to hand up to the board momentarily, and I'll review that with you. Before we do that, when we filed the application, we submitted, I believe, some surveys, but we have a more up-to-date survey. I only have 3 originals. I'll hand one to the clerk. I'll hand the other.
We need
Maybe you
two.
can just pass them out.
We need 2 copies.
2 more.
Just 2.
Just total 2.
Yes.
I just want you to have a second to look at that survey after she stamps it, so I can make comment on it, please.
Thank you.
If you know, this is a current survey of what is actually there. I'd like you to take a look at exactly how close the property is to the front yard, which is basically almost a 0 setback. Clearly that if this property were demolished, anything that would be built there now would conform to current zoning, which would make this much more conforming. This is extremely non-conforming use and location. I'm going to hand up to you copies of a report from Vigilant Construction Compliance Group. The principal in that is Timothy Platt. Timothy, as you may be aware, may not, was the sole building inspector for the village of Sag Harbor between 2009 and 2014.
Thank you.
He also was a fire marshal there prior to that. I'll just hit some highlights on this for you. He points out, of course, that he is quite familiar with historic preservation process. That's what part of the thing he did for 5 years as the village building inspector in Sag Harbor. He is currently certified to interpret and enforce New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Codes. He wishes to point out to you something you probably already know, and that is that not all buildings and structures within a designated historic district are necessarily contributing. We submit that this one is not. The National Register of Historic Places states, quote, "Any building, structure, object, or site within the boundaries of the district which reflects the significance of the district as a whole," end quote, is a contributing building. We suggest that this does not represent any significance or reflect any significance of the district as a whole. I'm sure you're all very familiar with where this property is located on Hill Street, and it's really in a residential zone, with the exception, I think, of a real estate store next door. All of the other uses are residential. Mr. Platt goes on to state that he did an inspection on the subject property, that it appeared that there were windows and doors that were reasonably new construction, not historic. Someone must have done certain work to it. He goes further on to tell you that the flooring is modern sheet vinyl. There is, windows have been replaced with double hung windows, again, not historic windows of any site, of any significance, or not any historic significance, period. I'll let you digest. Do you want more copies of that, by the way, Mr. Heisworth? I have a few extra. Okay. I'm also going to hand up to you copies of Jonathan Platt's letter. Jonathan, as I said, is the attorney for the Joyce family. Just to give you a little historical perspective, this property was in his Jonathan Platt's family for quite a long time. He points out that it was originally owned by his family as of the 1902 Atlas. It may have even been owned prior to that time. He goes back to his great-grandparents as being owners. And in the letter, he tries to take you a little bit historically through this property, and he talks about his father and his father's reminiscence of history in Southampton. And I don't know if any of you knew his father or not. William Platt Jr. was village attorney for 20 or 30 years in Southampton, I think in the 30s to the 50s.
No, I wouldn't know.
Probably in the 30s, or certainly before any of our time, but sometime thereafter. And had a pretty good sense of history of Southampton. Jonathan tells us that his father, in reminiscing about all the old stores and the old uses, never ever discussed this one. For what that's worth, he thought that that was an interesting note, that his father did not mention this property as having any historical significance. Jonathan goes on to try to give you a history of this property, that his ancestors farmed this property back at the turn of the century, that much of that area is farmland where Broad Lawn subdivision is, which is just down the road a piece, was all farmland. That is all residential, of course. There have been a number of homes in the general area, Lee Avenue, Captain's Neck Avenue, Hill Street, where houses have been demolished and replaced. And he further goes on to tell you in here that, as to his own knowledge, as far as he can remember, the buildings were always in poor condition. This property was picked up by his father at some point in a tax sale. So if you can imagine, if someone lets their property go to a tax sale, they probably haven't kept it up. So that the historical aspect of it, I think, wanes in time. The buildings are in disrepair. One of the things that we noted, or that he notes, is that when Mr. Studenroth apparently went to visit the property, he never went inside, although the Joyce family had wished that he had, so he could see what was done in there. Timothy Platt, whose report I gave to you, was inside, and his report does cover the interior of the building, as we said, talking about changes that were made. In summary, we asked this board to find that the classification as these buildings as contributing was erroneous from the onset. We asked for permission to demolish the same.
Were you given or furnished a copy of the report done by Mr. Studenroth on November 15th?
I believe that I did see that, yes.
Okay. Are you
I
addressing
don't have
any of the
that. I
material?
don't have that with me. I believe that Mr. Platt's, Timothy's document and the letter from Jonathan addresses those concerns.
It addresses the material information that's within the report.
I believe so.
If I may interject, you've given us a lot more information that obviously we need a chance
Of
to
course.
review. So I, for one, feel that I'd like to adjourn this for the next meeting.
See if there's any public comment. Do you have anything further?
No.
Zach, a lot of information is given. I'm sure you would like to dissect it as well, have the opportunity to review and.
If you have questions for us, if you want me to bring, I can bring them back to the Platt family. If you have any questions at this time, or if you.
Not reviewing and not reading the documentation that
That's
you've
tough, we
given
haven't
us.
seen it yet.
Yeah.
There's nothing I could ask you.
Okay.
Go, please.
Just a quick thought. I think it was suggested, this is going back a couple of meetings, that you might want to retain an architectural historian or a preservation
Yes.
person to kind of look at the whole situation, look at my report, et cetera. So I'm finding it a little difficult to read. It's all coming from the Platt family, which I think is great.
Jonathan
But-
tried to retain a historical
Yeah.
consultant and was unable to.
That-
There are not a whole lot of them floating around.
Yeah, I
I know
know
he
that.
spoke to a few, and
You stole the best one.
Yeah.
so we couldn't hire yours.
Nah.
And the others whose
But I
names
can
we
make
had,
a recommendation.
he
But
could
so
not.
Timothy, I know Timothy well because I was director at the Whaling Museum in Sag Harbor.
He told me
and
that,
he
yeah.
was served as the building inspector, so very capably, but I'm not really sure that his experience as a building inspector puts him in the forensic, architectural, what are we looking at here category, because that's really not his background and that's not what he did for a living. Maybe that's what he's doing now. Your attorney, Mr. Jonathan Platt, is opining over the history of this property and sort of, it would be very interesting to read this because I'm sure there's a lot of information there. But again, neither of these professionals, each of whom has their own area of expertise, is addressing the presentation, which is that neither of these buildings should have been considered as contributing resources in the district. Let's roll the clock back to 1979. Okay, that's when that survey was undertaken. And the results of the historical survey led to the creation of the historic district and the definition of boundaries and a decision whether structures. There were other buildings that were surveyed throughout the village which were not included in the boundaries of the district by virtue of the fact that they were at some distance, et cetera. It wasn't practical to include everything. These happen to have been included. So I'm only going to suggest that it's a pretty heavy lift at this point, 36 years later, to suggest that a mistake was made in 1979 when the survey was done, and in 1986 when the district boundaries were drawn, that these two particular buildings, which obviously your client has an interest in, shouldn't have been included as contributing in the first place. And I would say that someone needs to address that. And I don't think that either of these individuals has the background to do that. And what is suggested in my report is a further course of action, but I think initially we need to address that.
I would
before we
agree.
go any further. I digress. So,
Okay.
okay.
Any public comment on the application?
Can I just ask, is the...
You have to step forward in order for it to be part of record.
This is Tom Joyce. I'm the son of the current owners, Meredith Platt Joyce and Thomas W. Joyce Jr. I just want to understand, does that mean that there will be no decision tonight that's going to happen at the next hearing? I'm sorry?
There will be no decision tonight.
Okay.
And it will not be a written decision. At this point, we're asking for the opportunity to review the file, the information that was given to us today. And what our historic consultant has just mentioned as part of receiving the information from the applicant is there was some detailed information that we requested at our last meeting with regards to, I guess, really identifying this parcel as not contributing or was accidentally contributing as part of this survey that was done over 30 plus years ago. That's something that we're asking of the applicant.
Okay, I understand that, and I guess I would like to extend an invitation to Mr. Studenroth to come in and view the inside of the buildings. My wife has been out here almost nonstop and will make herself available at any time that's convenient for him. And I'll give my wife's cell phone number to him, and if we have a couple days advance notice, we'll make sure that
What would be the purpose of him going internally?
so that he could see the inside of the building as well, because it relates to how new certain portions of the building are, and whether or not it really has any historical significance. A drive-by does not give the whole indication, and as Mr. Platt's report will show, as to the different changes in the structure over the time and their historical significance. So we would like Mr. Studenroth to have the benefit of a full
We
evaluation of the
typically,
building.
because we are a aesthetic board, whose responsibility realistically is the outside or exterior aesthetics. We only do so in special circumstances where we allow Mr. Studenroth to go in, and that's really to do that forensic evaluation that you speak of. However, taking into consideration any material information that's internal sometimes can get us in trouble. Well, it has in past time. So if you're bringing or inviting our historic consultant to come in, understand that some of that information may not be able to be presented before this board as evidence that the house or the structure itself is non-contributing. You really would have to show to a higher standard than just the interior floorboards being changed.
But I don't think it's just an interior floorboard type of issue. I think that there's things that you can see about the overall historic quality of the buildings from being able to view the buildings in their entirety. And I think that is appropriate under these circumstances, and we would like for that to happen before the next hearing. And so my wife's cell phone number is 90.
I wouldn't,
Okay.
We're on.
don't give your wife's telephone number over television.
Not being called, you don't want.
She's a tough lady.
I'm
Handle
just saying.
herself.
that's-
But anyway, I thank you. Perhaps I can pass.
You can
Mr.
pass him a
Studenroth
note after.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's no problem.
Thank you.
What's the date of the next meeting?
Next meeting is
26th? 2 weeks from today?
I'll have a calendar.
26, Curtis?
26th? Okay. January 26th.
January 26th, okay. All right, thank you.
Very welcome. We're asking this board to adjourn so that we could have some time to review and do a little more homework, correct?
Mr. Furman?
You're asking this board to
Oh,
adjourn?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Next applications, pending written decision by council. Do we have the report prepared?
Yes, we do.
All right. Motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion to approve Hugh Fremantle, 252 Hill Street, written decision by council.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Where is that one?
Next application, please.
The next application is for Jeffrey Leeds, 136 First Neck Lane for a driveway gate.
Motion to approve applicants, I'm sorry, motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Jeffrey Leeds at First Neck Lane.
It's
Second.
not on here as a written
No, it's
decision.
Oh, this isn't.
I don't
Oh,
see
Jeffrey
that.
Leeds is not. The next one is JV 24 Gin Lane.
What agenda do you have? I think you have a,
I picked this up this morning.
okay, that agenda I think has been, your agenda has been changed.
Since noon today? Okay.
Fortunately, yes.
All right, so that's no longer on the
That is no
agenda.
longer in the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. Next application is J.
JV 24 Gin Lane LLC, pending written decision by council.
Take it. Motion to approve a written decision by council.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council.
that for June Lane?
Yeah,
That is
24
fixed.
June, second.
All in favor?
They said it was taken off.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, guys, written decision,
Yes.
motion?
Second?
Oh, it's been moved and second, all in favor, say
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. That one's done. Now we're doing Michael Check.
The next application,
Pamela Michaelcheck, 8 Fairley Road, written decision by council.
motion to approve, written decision by council.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Pamela Michaelcheck at Fairley Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can you just throw those in here?
Yeah, I need to sign the interior side of this.
And this was,
Next application,
27 Gin Lane LLC, written decision by council.
motion to approve, written decision by council.
I make a motion to approve written decision by council for 27 Gin Lane LLC.
Second?
Your. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is for Eva Victoria Wyman, 78 First Neck Lane.
John Bennett, I'm here with the architect. I did notice, though, while we're setting up, you do have 7 and 8 have written decisions if you wanted to take care of them, so that unless you don't have decisions for them. It's your calendar.
We do have decisions. Thank you, John.
Let's finalize it. Glenn Halsey,
Glenn Halsey, 440 Wickapog,
and you might as well give me first.
First Pasture LLC.
Motion to approve written decision by council for Halsey.
I make a motion, we approve the written decision by council for Glen Horsey on Wickapog Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And First Pasture.
I make a motion to approve written decision by council for First Pasture LLC.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Just put this in a pile.
See, these are all done.
All right, John. It's been all called already.
I'm Andre Chellischeff, architect representing Victoria Lyman.
My name is John Bennett, and I'm the
At the last meeting, excuse me, there were 2 issues brought up by the board. The covenant, of which you'll see we revised the placement of the building to conform to the covenant and building zoning. The gate porosity, which we increased. The tree sizes and locations, species, which have been identified. And subsequently to this meeting, excuse me, the building department indicated the roof pitch to be 712, so we've increased the roof pitch. So for each of your 3 points and one by Mr. Foster, we've adhered to in the package that you have.
I wanted to mention that there's a private covenant on the property, a covenant that came out of the subdivision process, and one or two of the objectants at the last time did appropriately state that the siting of the house did not comply with that covenant. So the siting of the house has now been changed to comply with the covenant. However, it does still place the western exterior wall of the house approximately 180 feet, or 160 feet, or double the front yard setback from First Neck Lane. So you still have because I know Mr. Hoag liked the fact that it was set back further. It still is set back twice the required front yard setback for the exterior wall.
So the calculations are accurate now. You went back
The
to
location.
the location is accurate now. Okay.
And it moved the house forward to First
Yes,
Neck.
move the house forward, but still
Still, it's 140-some feet,
very
yeah.
significant front yard setback. And of course, it meets the zoning. It met the zoning originally, but I believe that in all fairness, the team hadn't been given the covenant, so now the property has been the siting of the house has been properly revised to the site.
So the site map that was given to us on January 9th now reflects the new.
As well as Andre said, the roof pitch was changed to conform with the covenant, and some adjusted landscaping as tree species have been noted as requested by the board, and the other items. But I think we've met all the requirements that the board had, and also have met the concern about at least one of the two of the objections about the compliance with the.
Brian, I think we really had an aesthetic issue. It's just some detailed information that we didn't have in our last meeting.
It was more landscaping.
Landscaping.
Yeah. I actually like the roof a little bit taller.
He ended up too.
Yeah, I concur.
Yeah.
And this is a list of the various specimens that would be part of the landscape plan.
I think there were illustrative examples photographs as well.
Okay. Esther, any comments?
I think it's an improvement. It seems you've given us everything that we've asked for. I'd ask for public comment.
Christine?
No, but the pictures of the trees and the landscaping are just beautiful.
It's a great site, actually.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm all in favor of it. I think it's great.
Never had a problem with the aesthetics to begin with. I think there was just the specifics of, or I should say, exterior details that we didn't have as part of our last meeting. I think they've been dealt with and they've been handled. I had to have any additional issue. Zach, in the historic district, we're not referring to any contributing structure that needs to be demolished. Parcel is well densed. No issue.
No issue.
Any public comment on the application? Take a step forward, please, and if you guys can make way, please.
Please excuse the baby.
The baby is adorable. Your name for the
My name
record.
is Vanessa Rooks, and we're the neighbor to the south. We saw the plans. They look really pretty and nice. Our main concern, two things, was now that the original landscape architect is not on the job, who's going to going forward, who's going to kind of oversee everything and kind of stick to the plan, I guess, so to speak. Because I know there was also a problem with the neighbor to the north, and a police report has been filed because Mrs. Wyman cut down some trees that were not on her property over about $200,000, is what Cornelia Bregman said. So we're just concerned that once this is approved, who's going to sort of police it or make sure that it's
Well, there's an
carried out.
approved landscape plan as part of the application now. Part of that approved landscape plan also gives instruction to the building inspector to make sure that not only have the plans been met, but the landscape plan has been adhered to as well. But I would reach out to the two individuals to represent the project now and maybe communicate with the two of them and with regards to who the general contractor is or who's working on the project, and maybe you can make sure that those needs are set forth internally.
Also, when I went to the land management office, Diane in the office had said that.
Land management is the town.
Oh, sorry. Wherever I saw the plans, I'm not sure.
The building department.
Building department, excuse me. She's proposing a wood fence where our driveway is and then a wire fence. I guess it was stated there would be a 6-foot fence, and what I was told is that legally it's only supposed to be 4 feet. If you look on the plans, you'll see what that is. Did anyone
Front
see
yard
that?
4 feet, side yard 6.
But there was something about a setback there or something with a, after a certain amount of space, then she could do 6 feet, but before that was 4? That's what I was told. I don't know the legal terms for it.
I don't know the specifics in terms of the calculation. I would direct that question more to the building department to find out if that if there are any relief in terms of distance or setback on fence.
Okay.
Not this board's, unfortunately, our jurisdiction to start telling you about dimensions and size based on town zoning.
So basically, whatever they say in that department is what needs
They
to
are
be
the
adhered to.
enforcery part of this.
Okay, because she mentioned that there was a mistake with that, and that was just another concern.
Not a problem.
Okay,
Any
thank
other
you.
questions?
No, that's it.
You guys will exchange numbers and
Sure. Bennett and Reed, any concerns, please call me. I'll communicate them directly to Ms. Conley.
Thank you.
thank you. Any additional public comment? Anything further from the board?
Nope.
All right, gentlemen, the property is located in the historic district, and therefore any decision has to be in writing. So at this point, what we will do is empower our counsel when he returns from Europe, that we are in agreement that we'll approve the application, and then hopefully when he returns, he's able and capable of writing the decision at our next meeting.
Thank you very much.
I respectfully request that the hearing be closed, however.
Absolutely. Okay, nothing further from the board, nothing further from the public. Motion to close the application for written decision by council.
Make a motion that we close the application of Victoria Wyman, Eva Victoria Wyman, for written decision by council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please. Yes.
Chris and Renee Little, 259 South Main Street.
My name is Arthur Fraser. I'm the architect for the applicants. And the Liddells are proposing to do some extensions to the existing house. I think you have the plans in front of you.
Zach?
It's off of, excuse me, it's off of South Main Street, and you can't see it from the road, so it's up pretty far back. And it's a gambrel, existing gambrel, and we're proposing to add another series of gambrels to the extension.
What is the lot size?
78,000 square feet.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you. So the areas in gray are the additions, correct?
Yes.
Shaded? Thank you for that, by the way. Makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, and we're proposing, there's a little space that juts out in purple there that we're proposing to remove. So what's in yellow would be adding, and what's in sort of pink or whatever that color that is would be removing.
Okay, so I see it on the western elevation. You're reducing the roof. You're adding a second-story deck.
Right. There's currently a deck in the. There's currently a deck on the
South side.
South side. And we're in effect sort of exchanging it to the west side, so it looks over the lake. And we're keeping the height at the existing 28 feet. We're not proposing to go any higher. So, you know, the clients want to keep it as a cottage sort of aesthetic.
Zach, contributing structure?
Not to my knowledge. I'd have to double check on that.
What is the age of the house
I'm
currently?
pretty sure it's not.
The age of the house now?
I think in the 50s.
Yeah, 40s or 50s. Yeah. I'm familiar with it, but I don't think it showed up on the survey.
Do you need time?
Sorry?
Do you need time?
I don't think so. I mean, aesthetically, I think all the additions and improvements are in the language, the building vocabulary of it, and even, I'm looking on sheet 5, this is rather narrow gambrel roof.
That's right. That's a piece we're taking off.
That's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big improvement.
That was the worst part.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah,
improvement
so-
proposed.
That's a bonus. Yeah, no, I think to be compliant with the pyramid, you had to clip that roof.
Yeah.
But that's a little sort of a jerkin
Exactly. Yeah.
thing going on, which I think is consistent with the design, so.
Brian, comments?
I think that it's a very sympathetic addition. I think it's an improvement. I don't have a problem with the decks because they overlook the lake and not any neighbors. I think it's a very nice solution.
Esther?
I think you're keeping the actual feel of the house, but really making some wonderful architectural improvements to it. So I would certainly be in favor of supporting this.
Thank you.
Christine?
I think it's a big improvement.
I think the house reads well. The additions that are done will look after the finish like they've always been there, which is certain elements that we look at in terms of an addition, especially within a district such as the historic district. Any public comment on the application? Property is located in the historic district, therefore
Yeah.
requires written
Okay.
decision.
Oh.
So we'll hope that that will be prepared at our next meeting.
Okay.
Motion to close the application for written decision.
I make a motion that we close the application for written decision by council.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
All set? Thank you.
Next application, please.
Spencer Kupferman, 232 Hill Street.
Hello. Mark Cirillo, AutoGate Systems.
What is the spacing? For the record, the spacing?
Picket spacing 4 inches.
Iron?
Aluminum, square tube, square
Really?
aluminum, pyramid, white.
No lanterns, no...
No.
Okay. And
Lead
the...
coated copper caps on the 2 columns. And the gate will slide and pass through the west column.
Brian,
on the
comments?
hedge.
No issues with it.
Christine?
I have no problems with it.
Esther?
Very handsome, probably will not need a lot of maintenance.
Just washing.
We always focus on transparency. Thank you for you comply with what our requirements are in terms of spacing. And good luck with the project. Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve. I'm sorry. Written decision, I know it's small. It's unfortunately still in the historic district, so still requires written decision. So, motion to close the application for written decision.
I make a motion that we close the application for Spencer Kupferman on Hill Street for written decision by our council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next application, please.
Robert, 159 Main Street.
Good evening, Michael Barringer, architect for the applicant. Well, we have an interesting project here. 159 Main Street is currently owned by the Colonial Historic Society, and it is a residence that is known as the White Residence. It is across the street from Catina's and across the street from the Episcopal Church. So if you're familiar with the property, we have my client has decided to purchase the property and do a full renovation and addition and keep it as a residential property. There are a series of covenants, 6 pages of covenants that are imposed on the property by the Historical Society that will be in place for 7 years after the purchase of the property. So while your board is certainly currently the board that we need to convince this is a good idea, we will have their stewardship for the next 7 years as well on the property. Briefly, the history of the property: the Jagger family came from England in the 1640s, and they homesteaded this property according to town and historic records that have been pieced together, in 1651. There were some buildings, outbuildings, whatever, on the property, but there's evidence that a cornerstone for a principal building was laid in 1707. According to the records, between 1750 and 1800, the tail of the building, if we call it that, the part that is behind the main structure, was built in 2 or 3 sections, and it's called the Jagger addition, but it was actually the principal structure on the property. The property was sold in 1812 to current family's owners. So what's incredible here is that 375 years there have been 2 owners of this property. It is still owned since 1812 by the same owner. They built the principal structure in 1830 on the Main Street side of the Jagger addition, which appears to be the main structure, but it was actually built after the tail structure was built. So the house, the bay windows and the front porch were built around 1900, but the house is basically unchanged. There's an addition going sort of towards the cemetery that we call the North Addition, that we don't have any records of when that was built. And ironically, as the latest addition to the house, that's the one that's in the worst condition. So the builders were getting less efficient as they went on. The original structure is in good shape. The actual timber frame structure, the foundation is pretty good. So what we're proposing to do here is we do need to add on to the first floor of the house, and there are 8 bedrooms in the house currently, some of which make no sense on the second floor. So the final product, we're proposing to have 5 bedrooms as opposed to 8 now, and we're increasing the overall area of the house by just 511 square feet. So it'll be about 4,100, I believe, at its final size. We chose to define the additions by flat roof construction, and so as to try to differentiate between the original structures that are on the property right now. We will be adding amenities such as a detached garage, a swimming pool, a cabana. Even though it's right in the heart of the village and adjacent to Walbaum's, it's got incredibly great privacy on the property. It sort of has its own way of somehow cutting out the sounds of the traffic in the village around it. It's really a very pleasant property, and I invite you to walk the property if you'd like. Unfortunately, due to the age of the house, which is ironic, all of the siding and the windows and much of the exterior trim and things have all been replaced over time. I welcome Zach to identify or assist us in identifying anything there that we can deal with, but it's our intention to remove the interior and exterior finishes of the house, maintain the central colonial chimney that was original to the house, and we've got to rewire, put heating and air conditioning, straighten out some of the floors as best we can. I mean, it's a big challenge to my client, but it's also something that my contractor is here tonight, Gary Hartman. Gary specializes in doing these projects, and we look forward to the challenge here with this. And I think you want to call it the best view of the house or the money shot, is sort of from, if you were at the post house looking diagonally at that corner, the southeast corner of the house, and our additions are going to the north and to the west. So the additions are in the least conspicuous spot, and I think the view that this community has enjoyed for the last 300 years of this house will really essentially be unchanged. We wish there were windows and some things that we could restore, but I don't believe there are, but we would be using Marvin windows with historic profiles and historically correct details in our reconstruction of this, but maybe I'll see if there are any questions, or perhaps Zach may have some questions.
Okay. I have two sets of plans that were dated November 6th. They really just show the existing structure.
There was confusion in the building department.
This is the new one.
But I only have one set of plans from 12/9 showing the...
The building, there are two files for this project right now, and with all respect, the building department got this file all mixed up. And I have additional copies of drawings with me tonight because of...
I need another copy for the file.
They called me today and they said they had no drawings in the file. That's another set. I have a couple of sets of full-size plans. You have not really, I thought when Tin, were you there today looking at the file when Tin called me?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I wasn't. No.
Did he locate the plans for you at that time?
No.
They were in a ZBA file. He had mixed up the files. I thought I had gotten that straightened out.
This is the old plan.
That's existing.
That's existing.
This is
This
the
is
11.
the new.
This is the 11/6.
We have 3 copies of the 11/6, but just one of the December. Do you have
Is that
one?
yours?
I just received it, but you certainly need it for the file.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
We have 2. It's okay.
Here, you can take that one back. Have her stamp this.
This is existing.
Oh, okay, that's great.
That was the confusion. I apologize.
No problem.
Zach contributing, correct?
Oh, yes.
The changes,
Thank
the addition, as it currently reads, within keeping with the overall aesthetic period and design of the current existing house, or do you find there to be any change in the overall architecture to a degree that now it no longer keeps its historic integrity?
I would like to study this a little further because I haven't had a chance to do that. But I think the approach is very sound, and I agree entirely in terms of kind of changing the visual ambiance, let's say, of the village. I think you're correct in terms of what we, from a public way, experience the house as is the south and facing the Methodist church across the street. It's a very interesting property. It's quite large and it's very secluded once you enter into it. Those of us who have done the Historical Society's antiques events,
Yes,
experience
over the
that.
years, sure.
So there is an opportunity, I think, to enlarge the house to the north and to the west in such a way that visually this will be unnoticed. Are the covenants that the Historical Museum is attaching a part of the file, because I didn't read that? I'm interested to see what
I can give you a
because
copy
they're
of.
governing what you are proposing
Yes.
now.
That is the 6-page set of covenants, and I can put one into the file if that will
I
be.
think that would be worth
Helpful.
having in the file.
They're quite specific, I would say, as to what they want to see done on this property, and we submitted the plans
Thank you.
to technically they're known as the Colonial Society, I believe, and wrote a cover letter explaining our intentions, and I believe they have given the green light to this moving forward to this board at this point. And we are currently really contract vendees at this point, and need your approval to get this project to move forward, which I don't know if anyone from their board is here, but I would say they are quite anxious for that to move forward.
Curtis, Eric.
One second. Just 1 second, okay? Anything further?
Not if you don't have anything.
Zach has, I think this entire board needs some time to, I mean, it's definitely a sensitive site and location. We would like the opportunity to obviously review some of the covenant as well as the design itself and take in consideration location and the fact that we do have a historic building that is probably the focal point of Southampton Village, dead center, and we just want to make sure that we're sensitive in approaching the
Absolutely.
application.
Yeah. I think
Brian?
we share that same interest.
Is there a landscape or screening plan?
Yes.
There is one, yes. It's part of the application.
Okay.
Anything further?
No, overall, I think the
I
design
mean,
is very
mostly
successful.
we want to, I can just briefly say on the landscaping plan that the facade, again, from the Main Street side, very little work.
Right, I was just curious about the
In
wall
back-
bomb
In the
side,
back,
yeah.
we do need some screening for the night lighting from wall bombs and some things like that, but, you know, I just went to the property before the meeting because I thought to myself that I wanted to make sure the signs were still up, but I hadn't been there at night, and even the lighting from wall bombs is minor intrusion onto the property. I was surprised, so.
Okay.
Christine, comments?
No, I'm really excited to see that someone's taking on this project. I love this house, and I like the way that these plans look. I think that it's a great plan.
Thank you.
I really do.
I agree completely to know that there's someone who really wants to come into the village and restore a very historic property, very important property. So
Thank
we're
you.
grateful for that.
Okay.
Any public comment? Please step forward.
To buy that house. I love that house.
I'm Eric Woodward, and I am a trustee of the Historical Museum and past president, and also an architect in town. And I want to say that we're here to support this application. We did review the plans that were given to us, and am impressed that they have complied with the covenants, and that it looks like they're managing to put together a very satisfactory solution for a client. Also, as you might know, this is zoned village business, and we've had the property for sale for some time. And most of the applicants have been interested in it from the business standpoint and trying to maximize dollars on it. And so the fact that we've got a residential use, we're delighted with that. And then when we got the plans and we saw that the house was being wonderfully respected, we once again we're pleased. So as you were provided with, these covenants do go for a period of time, and so that we're going to be we even though we're selling the property, we will be having this review control over for approval process for some time. And you might also just be interested as a detail that the property was willed to us. It was in the will of the former owner, and it came to us with no conditions. So we were it was up to us to decide how to protect its integrity, and so we've introduced the covenants, even though we weren't required to.
We're grateful to you for that.
It's not a bad idea for some of the.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Any more public comment? All right, just need some time. So
And Tim, just to correct, we did get one copy of the updated plan with the garage and pool house. Tim did find it in the file,
Okay.
but we only had one copy. So we're glad we have the two that we
They're
need
floating
now.
around. They're floating
Everybody's
around the
looking
building
at them.
department. Do you need anything additional from me at this time?
I think we're fine, we just need to go through the covenants. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it
all
very
right,
much.
so you requested this board to adjourn till the next meeting?
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, you are. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn till the next
I
meeting.
make a motion that we approve the applicant
Plans.
Robert's request to adjourn 159 Main Street to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is for Leon and Deborah Black, 766 Meadow Lane.
Good evening, Melissa Dedovich, Peconic Environmental Associates. I'm here on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Black. I'm also accompanied by Ed Siegel and Jack Robertson from Cooper Robertson and Partners. This should be pretty quick. This property is located in the historic district, but the house we're talking about was actually just constructed in 2008. It's a brand new house, relatively speaking. What we're talking about is a limited area here that currently consists of a, let me see which one. I can't read upside down, demolition site plan. There's an existing enclosed circular staircase. They want to remove it and replace it with a second-story deck open and first story, I believe it's storage, correct?
Storage porch, yep.
Storage porch. Here on the demolition plan, put them side by side. You can see this is what's to be removed, this is what's going to be replaced with.
Please show that to the camera, please. It's part of record.
There we go.
Jack, sit down.
Not big enough.
You can have a seat, sir.
How about it this way?
That's fine.
But not
And
like
actually,
this
do you
guy.
have it for handout?
Oh, much better.
This is actually a color rendering, and what I'm going to hand up to the board are just before and afters.
The changes we made are quite minor, and some of the people thought that there was a mistake making the changes, but
Thank you.
wait till.
Okay, so the first page. That's what you see right now. The proposed, you can see it's an open second floor deck. And these are just two other perspectives of it, with the last page being what you see here on the table. And actually, this is how it looks now.
Ryan, any comments?
No, I'm absolutely fine with it.
Christine?
Absolutely fine.
Esther, any comments?
I think it's a major improvement. It looks like it's been there forever.
Wonderful.
It's beautiful.
I wanted to say one thing. Thank all of you for coming tonight, on a horrible night, to talk about this, and we don't understand how bloody lucky we are in this world of horror, that this can happen. So all of you are heroes and heroines to come. And it makes me incredibly proud to see you all here.
Thank you, sir.
That's very
We
kind.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
It's very kind.
Incredibly impressive.
Thank you so
And
much.
it's really important, as is he. I have 6 dogs. I like dogs.
We never get recognition.
Tell the mayor that it's around budget time, please.
Thank you so much.
Public comment?
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the application of Leon and Deborah Black at 766 Meadow Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, we're not going to written decision.
It's in this one?
Yeah.
Ah, shoot.
Not a contributing.
Yeah, still within the historic district. We're gonna have to, motion to reopen the application.
Make a
Make a
motion
motion
to,
that we reopen Leon and Deborah Black at 7666
All
Meadow
right.
Lane.
We, unfortunately, this application has to be in writing, so I know it's minimum, it's, like any other application is designated within a historic district, so therefore it has to be in writing. So we will motion this time to close the application and prepare a written decision by council.
I make a motion that we close the application of Leon and Deborah Black and reserve the written decision by council.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next application, please.
Beck and Alex 22 LLC for 22 Gin Lane.
Okay.
Is he with you?
No, he's just taking care of business.
Give us a moment.
Good evening. Oh, we're waiting for one more?
Yeah, we're waiting.
Okay, 1 second. Sure. Can we pass these out while we're waiting?
Sure.
This is it's mini sets. No worries.
We have a new stamp?
We haven't gotten it yet.
Wow.
It's like a, yeah, there you go.
Thank you. Zach.
All right, you know, we can be.
No, we can wait.
Oh, he's here.
Here he is.
I heard him.
Thank you for the small sets.
Oh, you're very welcome. Good evening. Melissa Dedovich, Peconic Environmental Associates. I'm here on behalf of Beck and Alex, 22 Gin Lane. I'm here with Randy Carell and Alexis Ryder from Robert A.M. Stern, as well as Tony Pasek from Essex After an Angel. And I'll let Randy explain the project.
Perry Guillaume.
I'm Perry Guillaume, the landscape architect. I'm sorry.
Hello. So this project is on an empty site at 22 Gin Lane. It's about a 2-acre site, and we've designed this new 2-story house that's shingle style. The materials are Alaskan yellow cedar for the roof and the walls. We have a brick base to the house. We have off-white trim and dark green shutters, which we have samples of anything you'd like to see. This site has given the curve of Gin Lane at this point, the site has a unusual envelope, shaped building envelope, which the house fits within. You can see the envelope is like that. The pool is to the back, and pool house and barn. I'm not sure what else you'd like to know. I'm happy to tell you.
I think it's part of the overall plan here.
The elevation should all be in the mini set.
So, in the beginning of your set, there are 3 renderings. One being from Gin Lane. One being from the west end of the house that's facing Gin Lane and Lake Agawam. And then one of the south face of the house that faces away from
You
Gin
can
Lane.
turn all of those to the camera and as you mentioned to us, the location, you also mentioned it for the...
Yes, okay. So this rendering shows the south side of the house that's away from public view, away from Gin Lane. This is the west end of the house that faces towards Lake Agawam and Gin Lane. And this rendering is the north elevation, the main elevation that faces. There is a landscape plan. Is that in the booklet as well?
It is.
Yeah.
You have a sample of the brick? And you say that the shingle is and a sample of the shingle too, just show the contrast.
We don't have a sample of the shingle. We have a photo of a house that we finished about a year ago in East Hampton that shows the shingle. The lower half is before it's weathered, and the upper is how that shingle weathers. Pardon me?
Can you hand that into the
Yeah,
record,
sure.
please?
I think it's lovely.
You want these as well?
It's beautiful.
Sorry?
You want these as
Those
well?
are the colors.
For the colors.
More interested in the contrast between the shingles and the brick. It's kind of hard to distinguish your front yard, but if you were to, this is kind of a corner lot, right? And it's kind of skewed, it's curved. At your lowest point, what is your front yard setback?
80 feet.
Brian, comments?
I think it's just beautiful. I think it's great. It's like quintessential Hamptons cottage, you know. I love the porches, I love the way it's grounded into the, and on such an odd building envelope, the way that you're able to do this, it's brilliant, it's great. I think it's terrific.
Christine?
I think it's just beautiful. I think it's a beautiful home. Very appropriate for Southampton. And
Esther.
the lot.
The architecture is quintessentially Hampton's classic shingle style. The proportions are beautiful. The windows, the doors, the porches, the chimneys, the scale, the size. I mean, it's really quite masterful. Yeah. And I'd love to hear Perry talk about the landscape as well.
That's where we're going next. Landscape?
This is towards you. As you know, the site's dominated, not by very much, just big open sky right now. The trees that are there, there's some good plane trees and horse chestnuts, which are classic Southampton trees, and they do well close to the ocean like that. There are a few American holly, so going by those clues, that's the only varieties of trees that are added. American holly and plane trees, and they're shown in red here. The shrub list is rather edited, almost austere. Blue hydrangea. And that's it.
Surprise.
Rest is lawn.
It works.
No reinventing the wheel. I think the
So more
charm
of-
of this
more of the
site is
same.
its location.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like, I say it's like being on the front of a ship, because you have the lake, you have the Dune Church, you have the bathing corporation, and then the ocean. So there's a hedge added where none exists now on the south and east side.
What's the height of the hedge?
It's about 8 feet. On the road, it approaches 10.
Mhm.
The existing hedge on
Point
the
that
road.
right to the camera.
Do you know if that right-of-way is going to be a continuous hedge, or is that just up to the individual?
It's actually,
homeowners?
not actually the height of the hedge is actually about 14 feet, the existing hedge. And it's going to
Not the one on Gin, the new right-of-way that's going in there, in the middle of the property, so behind the site.
Oh, is it going to be complete? It depends on property to property.
That's what I was wondering, if there was a covenant that sort of dictated that or anything.
I'm
No?
sure they'll make a call go in there.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on the application? Anything further from the board?
No.
Nope.
I don't think there's any opposition to this board from an architectural standpoint. Landscape issues, there should seem to be any. You could take that rendering and just also, I know we,
This one?
no, the actual
The model?
elevation, the model. Just show the camera. Streetscape. Applications in historic district requires written decision by council. There's no objection of this board. So we will prepare, or at least inquire, prepare our counsel that he will do just yet another written decision by himself. So he's going to be busy when he gets back, thank God.
Serves him right.
Serves him right for
There's
leaving
mine.
us. Right. So at this time, we'll just close the application for written decision. Any questions? Motion to close the application for written decision by council.
I make a motion that we close the application of Beck and Alex 22 LLC on Gin Lane for written decision by our council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And our final historic application for the evening.
Is 450 Gin Lane, LLC.
My name is John Bennett and Reed. I represent the applicant, and while Jerry Hoopy, the architect from Shope, Reno, and Wharton, and Zadetovic from Peconic are setting up, I just wanted to make some prefatory statements. Since we were last before this board, the applicant retained the services of Shope, Reno, and Wharton Associates and redesigned the proposed residence, proposing construction of a traditional home. I believe copies of the plan have been on file for some time. Indeed, they've been sitting in the village office quite a while, because this application did have a series of hearings before the trustees, the village trustees, at which time people were able to comment on those plans. And the Board of Trustees did on January 8th grant an exemption from the moratorium to allow this project to come to this board. I do have a few copies of that, which I'd like to hand out, but I think it's interesting to note that as part of the rationale for granting the exemption from the moratorium, and I'm reading from page 7 of the exemption approval, of an 8-page exemption approval, the trustees did note the current plans for the applicant's proposed house involve a new house of traditional design which is in harmony with the existing character of the village as a whole and the area of the village in which the subject parcel is located. So the board did grant that application. I actually think this is a great opportunity to do what I think the direction Mr. Brady was sending everybody, for the sense of place to be constructed down at the end of Old Town Pond. You had a house that was probably best characterized as a Queen Anne style. It was. Some people thought it was a stick style, but it wasn't. It was a Queen Anne style house of 436 with a rather bizarre modern extension. The board has allowed that to be taken down, and I do believe there is an application to construct a rather traditional addition to that house that's pending before the board for an exemption. And then Mr. Smith's house to the east of this house is, of course, of traditional design, with the guest house in the front also of a traditional design. So what we have now is a design by Shope, Reno, and Wharton. As sort of a amateur student of architecture, I think it's hard to find a firm that's as capable as designing a traditional home as Shope, Reno, and Wharton. So I was thrilled to be able to have them come into the village and work on this project. So I'll just leave the rest of the presentation to where it should be, with the architect Jerry Hoopy from Shope, Reno.
Yeah.
My name is Jerry Hoopy with Shope, Reno, Wharton Associates, and we were brought on board to design a home for the Grossmans, and with a focus on working with the community of Southampton and working with something that obviously is something that we're very near to, which is a stick style, shingle style type of architecture. The property is unique because it has, unlike a lot of places in the Hamptons, it has some distant views out across Old Town Pond and from the dock back towards the property, so the scale of the house was important. I think most of this is probably a rehash, so I'm going to talk about the architecture, and if you need me to jump back into anything else, please ask.
This was never presented.
I don't think it was ever presented.
This was
before.
never presented to us, so.
We stopped before presenting the application.
Okay.
So
This is the first time this board. It
Right.
feels like you presented
Okay.
these times because there's been hearings before.
we all look alike.
Just joking.
Much better looking crowd.
I like that answer.
There you go.
You know, it's a relatively simple program for where it is. It's a beach house. It's a family with 4 children. It has an upper floor with 4 bedrooms and a master bedroom suite.
Probably best if you go right to the elevations.
I'll flip to I think these are in the packet, but I have obviously the CAD hard lines, which are underneath here, but I think these are probably more representative because of the character and the shadows that exist on them. It's got great views down the pond, so it's a unique lot because it has views both street side and also certainly out towards the ocean. But the task in front of us was to help break the scale down of the house. So it actually is a series of step-back gables, which sit in the range of just under 24 feet, to help really work hard to strike a horizontal vertical balance, which is a challenge in lots where you have a B-zone. The other thing that we worked hard to do as we approach both the western elevation and the eastern elevation was to bring the eave lines down. They're actually just above the second floor deck. So there's actually a 6-foot knee wall on the second floor of this home. And just to help nestle it down as best it can, given the challenges that it has in front of it with elevation. I think probably what may be more helpful is to look at the two shots of the street view with the privet, obviously, and indicative of both the shingle style and the stick style in creating a horizontal line to help bring the scale of that building down. And then also because it sits back so far off the dune, it really presents itself as a story-and-a-half home.
Where exactly is that represented?
This is from the beach.
From the beach.
Mm-hmm. So whereas the two flanking homes to this sit very prominently on the dune, this sits back and has a much reduced impact from that beach elevation. And I think probably the other view, I'm going to slow this down and flip the pond view. This is zoomed in, but down from the dock at Old Town Pond, which at that point your perspective is very diminished. It sits lower than the home to the east and substantially lower than the home to the west.
For the record, that is to scale?
Pardon me?
That is to scale, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Could try and show that to the camera as well?
It's a natural shingle-style home, envisioned to be dark trim. I have a couple of images that I can show. Dark trimmed homes are a little bit of a challenge to render because they don't, you kind of lose a lot of the line weight. Set that up there. It's a natural shingle roof, Western red cedar at 18-inch perfections. Had a 5.5 inch to the weather, so they're a nice tight spacing, both on the roof and then a dark trim.
And that's taken for your firm's monograph, correct?
Yes.
I just wanted to add that the site, I think it's quite masterful what's been done here, because the site itself has some significant challenges, because there is a very restrictive, not only coastal erosion hazard line setback, but dune crest setback, which moves the site of the house towards the front. It conforms with the setback, but conforms with all the zoning setbacks. We did need a little bit of relief for some of the environmental setbacks, the dune crest setback, but even with that relief, we're in that building envelope.
I don't have an issue. Just looking at it from an aesthetic standpoint, finding it out of keeping for the community. I don't find it to be. I think it's an attractive, handsome style home, and I don't have any issues as proposed. Brian?
It's like a sigh of relief for me.
Christine?
Thank you.
Esther?
I think the Grossmans really have worked very hard to give the board and the community, I think, what we've been asking for. And I think this is such a major improvement in terms of how it relates to the houses to the east and to the west. And I think it's really a marvelous solution that I would be very much in favor of.
There's one thing. Thank you. There's one thing.
Journey.
Yeah, it's been a very long journey, and I think, and also Mrs. Grossman is here, and there was, for whatever it's worth, and I think it's worth a lot, there was quite a bit of money left on the table for the original design, but we heard where you were going, and I think you end up with that's really going to be a showcase, the architecture at the end of Old Town Pond. It's
That
going to
view
create a huge
and that
sense
view
of
from the
place.
beach is just
It's
magical.
beautiful. It's really
great.
beautiful.
Any public comment?
Well, before we get there, there's just one thing I would like to talk about, because I do want to talk about something that I do think is going to come up. I'm hoping there's been a change of mind, but I do think it's going to come up. And if you could look at these.
I didn't see any hands go up.
Oh, I think. I know. All right. Well, in any event. Didn't see it. What did the oracle say to Caesar? The day's not over yet. One of Mr. Smith has through the who's in the audience with his counsel, has seen these plans, with the exception of a couple fenestration changes, through quite a series of hearings before the trustees, which did result in the relief from the moratorium. And one of his concerns was the fact that there is, on the master bedroom side of the house, which is the east side of the house, a balcony which faces off to the to the ocean. Which it's an oceanfront house. It has an oceanfront. Should have an oceanfront balcony. I know you're very concerned about balconies generally, but this is an oceanfront house with an oceanside balcony. In terms of character of the neighborhood, what you're seeing here are the balconies on the Smith house. So I know that to the extent that there's some claim that there'll be a lack of privacy from this ocean-facing balcony on the Shoprino Wharton design and the Grossman's design, I do want to point out to you the numerous balconies, many of them looking right into at the
point that the second story's deck impacts the complaining or potential complaining neighbor, what is the distance between that point and the property line of that
about
neighbor?
35 feet maybe?
Yes, actually more than that.
Sorry, how far?
35 feet from, this is an elevation of the rear of that, or section through the property of the rear of that house.
Deck in question.
So this is the
And the
balcony off of
distance-
the master bedroom.
and the distance from that-
35 feet
It's 35 feet.
to the property line.
Of those two trees obstructing the view.
Those are part of the landscape plan that has been submitted with the package.
Those are
Two
proposed.
linden trees that are in that
And the
area.
height of those trees.
24 to 28 feet, I think. And they're accurately depicted there. Yeah, we're showing this 25 feet on the rendering here, so it's accurate within what's being laid out by the landscape architect. In addition to the privet, the 2 layers of privet that will exist in
So
that
what you're
location.
saying is your line of sight from the deck.
If you're standing, and keep in mind that the way that the furniture, the layout, and all the design of it, not that it's relevant to the board's concern, but it's a seating area. You know, you're up there to sit and enjoy the view. It's off the master bedroom.
The depth of the deck?
The depth of the deck is. Put on my eyes for a moment.
While Jerry's doing that, I want to hand up additional photographs of the numerous decks on the Smith property.
I think we just got
You
those
have
done.
those as well? You do? Okay.
19 and a half feet from the house forward, 19 and a half feet. So there's a seating area for them and their 4 children, and then there's 2 lounge chairs forward of that.
And it's not off an entertaining area, it's off a master bedroom. And it's
Facing the ocean.
Facing the ocean, on an oceanfront house.
And this is also the same landscape plan that was in front of this board. Really, the only thing to change, I think, is an additional linden tree has been added.
But I think that's all we have to say. I don't think that this is not a deck that's on a side or front of a house or anything. This is an ocean front, second story, first story
Picture
deck.
and turn it to the camera as well as the audience.
I do wanted to finally add that that Mr. Smith has been aware of these plans, has seen them, has made comments on them, had a PowerPoint presentation in response to these at 2 separate trustee hearings.
Thank you.
Thank
Now,
you.
let's see if there's any public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Might wanna
Any
look-
comment?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm Jeff Bragman for Neil Smith. And I do indeed want to talk about privacy because we do think the deck is intrusive. I didn't see may I see the picture of the Neil Smith house?
Sure.
The same one that submitted as
Caesar salad. 3 minutes.
We're just looking at the photograph, and Mr. Smith is telling me that the main deck that you see there that's adjacent to the swimming pool is at ground level. So that's not an intrusive deck because their ground level is below the ground level of the next door neighbor. The deck on the second, the porch there is really facing the other direction. It has again, it's on the ground level. It's not a high deck that gives you a view of your neighbor's property. So what I think if you're going to compare decks to decks, what's really important is the upper level deck, which is a very small deck. It's only 6 feet deep on the second floor. It's a much smaller deck than what you're talking about.
Are you talking about the west deck?
I am talking about the upper level balcony on the south.
On the south. But we've got.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong.
But we have 3 upper level balconies. You're talking about the upper level west or the upper level south?
I am talking about the upper level. The upper level south doesn't even overlook the property.
That faces the ocean.
Yeah. So
We're talking
that's
about the upper
so
level
that's
west.
irrelevant.
I'm just clarifying.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about the upper level west balcony.
Yes. Yeah. A balcony that's facing the ocean that has no view of his property is not really a privacy concern. So the upper level balcony on the west is the only balcony that's a high up balcony that's overlooking the property. That balcony is 6 feet deep. And if we can have some time before you meet again on this, I assume there's going to be another meeting since this is the first time it's on, we can actually dimension that balcony for you. So it's a much smaller balcony. I've talked to Mr. Smith about it.
I'd like for you to more respond to the line of sight that's been presented.
You know what, I'm allowed to make a record here, so I want to continue talking about the balconies. And then I do want to talk about the line of sight. And I have some photographs to show you as well. The north upper level balcony that they're talking about that is prominent over the porte cochere is a non-functional balcony. The doors are sealed. People don't go on that balcony. It's decorative. So it's not looking at his property, and it's not an opportunity to look at his...
Upper level west balcony.
The upper level north balcony on the front of the house is not a functional... It's not functional.
Yes.
It's decorative, okay? And the north level main porch...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the image that I have. It looks like there are 2 deck chairs up there.
He's telling me the doors are sealed on that deck.
Does anybody have a magnifying glass?
Now, if you look at this one, actually, you see the chair on the picture.
There is a chair on there,
Yeah,
isn't there?
there's 2 chairs. This is on the photographs that we submitted.
Above the porte cochere. Okay.
Are the chairs decorative?
Right here.
And it
I
is
don't know when that was
not-
taken, so all I can tell you is that is sealed, and if you'd like to come and see it, then you
There's
can...
nothing
Yeah.
precluding them from being opened.
He's telling me the doors are sealed, and if you want, we can arrange to have that inspected
And by
so
the way,
you can
could
see.
also- I'm happy to seal it as well, even more if you want to. It doesn't make a difference to me.
From a board perspective, and I'll speak for myself, I'm more interested in his deck and his impact on your property.
Yes, I know. So are we. I mean,
We're having this long dialogue over your decks.
Well, I'm allowed to at least
We're allowed
correct
to do a lot of things. I'm just telling you what will help me make a better decision on the application.
I'm going to get to that if you give me a minute. I think it's not inappropriate to go over the labeling of these things and explain that several of the decks here have no impact because they're on the ground floor. For example, the north main level porch is basically again a very narrow deck, not nearly the width of the deck. So it's not a deck where people are going to be congregating, having drinks, or having a party. These decks are very narrow decks, as is typical on these historic houses. I have some photographs that are computer generated using the survey, and these are accurately scaled photo generated diagrams that show the view shed that I can hand out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can go through them.
Jeff, can I see this?
I only have one. I can give you one tomorrow.
So that I can
I'm,
respond.
you can see it when I'm done.
We'll share. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are actually a little concerned about the accuracy of the drawing of that tree. I just want to digress for 1 minute. This is on the diagram that was given to you. This is in the set of plans that we got today. And we're concerned because that tree looks, judging by what we know to be the height of the guest house here, the tree looks to be about 35 feet to us. And we've had a difficulty before with a diagram that was submitted with a large tree there that was, in fact, 35 feet. And this was on the last plan, and the architect actually apologized and said it can't be. And we're a little excuse me. And then when we look at the drawings, let's go through the drawings. I mean the photographs. The first one just shows it's a long view of the relationship between the pool, and you can see the deck protruding a little bit on the right-hand side of the drawing. The green part of the green structure there in the middle is actually a 12-foot high hedge. So you can see that the base of the house is higher than the 12-foot high hedge. So the hedge is not really doing much screening of that house. The next photograph is a view taken from that upper story deck. And you can see that the depth of this deck is 20 feet. Okay, if you're looking at it, it's 20 feet from the edge of the house to the end of the deck.
I apologize,
So
just so I make sure I'm looking at the right photo. Is that the photo of the man
This
holding
one.
the camera?
This one, yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but I have a question. These are images of a house that has not yet been built.
Yes, they are. We can provide you the documentation on how these are done. These are accurately scaled by an architect. They start out. Mr. Brady may know this, the way they do this. They start out. They lay the survey down as the base map, and then they scale it up from the base map. So these are accurate portrayals, and you can do a visual simulation of a house that hasn't been built yet. The technology exists, and this is accurate, and we can provide that documentation. These were done by Rick Stott. The next, and what you can see is that because of the depth of the deck, the 20 feet depth of the deck, it has a tremendous view directly down into the pool. And as I said, from the prior photograph, you can see that the hedge doesn't really provide any screening because that's a 12-foot hedge, and that building starts above the hedge. So it's not doing anything. The next picture is a slightly rotated view toward the end of, again, at the end of that deck. And it's I don't know how else to describe this other than to say the pool is completely exposed to view. And this is a large deck. It's 20 feet deep and 22 feet wide. That's not just a deck for a couple of lounge chairs. This could certainly be a deck where you had cocktails and had people who were standing around.
Off the master bedroom.
Off the master bedroom. And, the master bedroom balcony is typically a smaller balcony. Usually it's for the husband and the wife to hang out. The next photograph gives you an idea of what it looks like, from the other view, looking down from the pool. And again, you can see that the depth of the deck is a pretty serious concern for Neil.
Would you be opposed to reducing the size of the deck?
Can I just
You may
make,
be.
I don't want to step out of order.
I'm just asking a question and let him continue to finish.
Okay.
All right, continue, sir.
And so that's what we're here to ask. I mean, I'm not here to throw bombs at the application. We're
Are you
certainly
asking for reduction or elimination?
no. We'd like to see it reduced. Reduced, yeah. I would suggest that 20 feet by 22 feet, a 440 square foot deck off your master bedroom is a lot, and it invites the kind of use that will be very intrusive. Now, we also would like to, we'd like to take a crack at having our own landscape person look at this. And while it is true that we have seen this before in front of the village board, that was to argue a different issue, was to argue undue hardship in front of the village board. It doesn't mean that we brought in, a landscape architect or a landscaper to evaluate it and see if we could do anything better. We were concerned because the tree, and you can see it here. Well, no, I'm sorry, you can't see it here. I was looking at a photo before, and it looks like the tree. I guess you can see it a little bit in the second photograph. The tree comes up. It looks like to the top of that balcony, but our measurements are that it's 22 feet where their feet are. So we think that tree is higher than what they're just eyeballing it. We think it's higher than what they're saying it is. In other words, it's depicted visually higher than the footage that they're giving, and we'd like to be able to check that. But I think the main concern here really is privacy that is impaired because of the depth of the deck. That's the main, thing.
That's a elusive and very reasonable question, one of which we'll approach with the applicant.
Yeah, and I know the board has been.
What I want to do is, we were talking a lot, we had a lot of conversation about your client's deck. And what I'm trying to reveal to you is, understandably, we're not going to sit here and say, well, you have it, so why can't your neighbor have it? And I think that's what you were leading.
I should have listened to you, because that's kind of my point, really. Neil Smith's house is the historic house. That's the house you're supposed to be protecting. And from what I read about that's, I'm sorry for the groans from the audience, from a planner, but it's the design guidelines that say that. It's not me imposing. That's what you're supposed to do.
In terms of my review of this application, I am only looking at this design of this home and how it impacts from visually to the neighbor. That is the only thing.
I think that's appropriate. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You have to understand. We don't always, when I'm at the podium, we don't always know where you're going, and so sometimes I want to get, some facts in about which of the decks, are, that look intrusive or not intrusive. But I think, in general, what I read about shingle-style architecture in your design guidelines is that they tried to be unobtrusive with their neighbors. They deliberately tried to make the houses blend in.
We've been extremely consistent in terms of any second-story deck intruding on.
I know that. So, I do know that. I know that's been a concern.
That we take seriously. So we're going to review that right now as an issue, or if it is an issue, and try to address it in a manner with the applicant to see if there's a reasonable response to why it currently exists in terms of its size and dimension, why it has to remain such, and is there a reasonable solution in getting what they need and getting what you need at the same time.
And I would like to have, see if I could have an opportunity to bring our own landscape person in, because we have not had a landscape person look at the trees that they're depicting and to maybe come up with some ideas as well. So if the record could be kept open, that would be my request. But the main concern really is the depth of that deck. It's pretty big. Thank you.
Any more public comment before there's a rebuttal? Okay.
They're not talking about protecting the historic house. They're talking about protecting the pool. Interestingly, they don't show you the vantage point from their house. And one of the things you look at the standard is compliance with the neighborhood. So I would respectfully disagree. You do have to take into consideration the effect that the existing house has on the proposed house. But what they're talking about is protecting the pool. How did the pool get there? The pool got there by reason of a variance. That pool is not supposed to be there. There was a variance granted for the pool, and in that location, there's also, in terms of privacy, there's a guest house that's 8 feet from my client's property. So the pool is not something that you're charged with protecting, and that pool is there by reason of a variance. You cannot do these things in a vacuum. So I give you these, the variance that was granted by the board to put that pool in a non-conforming, the Smith pool is in a non-conforming location. They're talking about allegedly protecting the pool
John,
this
in
view
past
shed.
applications, I know you represented applications where there were issues with regards to line of sight on second-story decks, and you came up with reasonable
Never on an
accommodations.
ocean, this is an oceanfront house, and this is an ocean
We're not saying
viewing
it-
deck.
okay,
I've
hear me
seen
out.
plenty of applications where there are view sheds into other properties, different sides of the house, but this isn't. I would suggest that a significant part of the value of an oceanfront house is the ability to have an oceanfront deck.
I would agree with you.
And I don't know where you could find a house on the ocean in the village of Southampton, on Meadow Lane or on Gin Lane, down in the Murray McDonald compound that doesn't have an oceanfront deck. And yes, those do have peripheral views into the side.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask if there was a
No, I understand. I understand.
Could we, I mean, I hate to put the architect back on the spot, but do you have any brilliant ideas?
Can
or-
I just note
Melissa?
one thing that's on the decision that you have too? If you read I believe it's the second sentence, the existing location of the main house is substantially non-conforming with respect to dune setback and coastal erosion hazard area requirements. In fact, if you read on further, number 1, there shall be no further addition to or enlargement of the reconstructed main house without the approval of this board if such future addition or enlargement is proposed at the non-conforming location. We're being penalized. Do you have the zoning? We have a very tight zoning
Yes, you
envelope.
do.
We conform. We're now being held, we've had to go through now, we've been here since June.
Yes.
The landscape plan has not changed since it was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals in July. This is the same landscape plan that I think we presented in August. We're being asked, you're asking us to talk about or penalize our client for a balcony that actually conforms because their house is in a non-conforming location. That's all I wanted to just touch on that, because there is a line, and we actually have our client here. Mrs. Grossman is here. We've provided the cross-sections. I think Mr. Holpe can also address that. Would you like to address why the balcony is?
Well, I mentioned it briefly in the beginning,
You're
but
gonna grow.
essentially
You're done.
the scale of the balcony allows you
going there.
privacy, actually. If it's reduced in size, you don't have the ability to put something that you can sit down on. This way you have seating arrangement where your eye level gets lower, your perspective stretches out a lot further, you've got
2 more
chaise
feet.
lounges where you're down below the railing height, so that your perspective is much out towards the horizon versus down. If you reduce the balcony and force it to be a standing or a stool type balcony, then your perspective down is going to be increased.
I understand.
These are Leland cypresses here?
These are the lindens. Yeah, the lindens.
Lindens, okay.
Mrs. Grossman?
They grow how much a year?
One second.
Yeah, I don't know the number a year, but the number.
Maybe like 2 feet a
the height
year?
We're actually depicting these as, I think they were called out as 24 to 26 foot height. We're showing these at 25. This enlarged section over what you're looking at in generated perspectives, this is based off of the grading plan and the site.
They
plan
grow
and the
about 2 feet a year.
2 feet a year.
And the other thing is too, just that this picture is actually deceiving too, because it doesn't show them looking back at us. We want the privacy as much as they want the privacy.
Of course you do.
Understood.
I just want to introduce myself. Hi, Diane Grossman for 450 Gin Lane. I want to thank you for your time. I just briefly want to say, and I'm going to reiterate a few things. Obviously, I want my privacy from you.
You guys have to direct your comments.
I do not, I want mutual privacy like he wants mutual privacy, and we designed it specifically. I just wanted to state that this is off a master bedroom. It is my dream of mine to live on the ocean. This is our private balcony for the two of us, and all we would like to do is be able to sit and talk and relax and enjoy the ocean views. And it's not for parties, it's not for a lot of people, and again, to reiterate, the size, a bigger balcony, and we were just on vacation, and we actually spent our vacation measuring. I was out on the beach measuring from, going to the beach, and my husband would stand a certain amount of feet from the edge, and we did indeed find it was the same size balcony. The bigger the balcony, it provides mutual privacy for both, in the sense that we're not going to be standing on the periphery. We're going to be basically quietly sitting, talking, and enjoying the view. It's our only second floor balcony. It's just for my husband and myself to enjoy. And I really hope that extra benefit is not taken away, because it's not going to impede on his privacy. I don't want to impede on his privacy, and we want our privacy as well.
Thank you.
So I really hope that it does not get reduced. Thank you for your time.
Show them the example of the additional.
Was there a reason why there were only 2 trees in that rendering? I mean, if you added a 3rd tree and put 2 more feet on it,
Done.
you don't see anything.
Done. And if they're Leland cypress, I know from my own experience, because they're at my house, they grow too fast.
Yeah.
If anything. Yeah. We would certainly add a third tree there.
It's not reasonable.
Let me just, I just want to, before I address it, I just want to answer something, because sometimes I just have to correct John Bennett, because the first thing he said when he stood up is, how come they didn't give you a view from their property? They didn't, that's a big violation. Well, we did, and he had it in his hand. Okay, you have a view from our property. The second thing is,
John.
Can we, is it really, who is running the board here?
Continue.
The second thing I want to say is, it's a little disingenuous for Mr. Bennett to get up in front of you and say, that pool is a non-conforming pool, because what it suggests to you, at least I think what it suggests to you, is that the pool is too close to the property line, which is the only dimension that should matter. And it's the only variance that the pool never got. The pool is appropriately set back from the property line. So when he raises this specter of this wicked variance that they got for the pool, it is not because of the setback from the property line. That pool is set back appropriately at the correct setback from the property line. So it's not too close. So the suggestion that our pool is getting in the way of his deck is completely incorrect. The variance that it got was because technically the location of the pool is the front yard. Okay, so it got a front yard variance because there's a guest house and a house behind it. But it meets all setbacks, which is why the zoning board gave him the variance. It meets the front yard setback and it meets the side yard setback. So it is not a question, as I believe Mr. Bennett was suggesting, that our pool is too close to their property and that's why the deck is intrusive. You can screen anything, and we're happy to have more screening. Neil's here, he can speak for himself on that. I think it's a good idea to have more screening. But you've been very attentive in the past. Oh, and by the way, I should, before I get off the question of variances, and similarly with the house, the variances that the house got had to do with the coastal erosion setback. Again, it didn't have anything to do with its relationship to the property line next door. So this is a boogeyman that he's raising. It has nothing to do with it, and it's inappropriate to suggest that our house and our pool is getting in the way of their deck. More screening is good. Neil can talk to you about that. But I know that this board has been very, very stringent on these, Juliet, even little tiny Juliet balconies. And this house has a very large balcony immediately adjacent to this balcony. A big, long balcony that is fully ocean view. And I think in light of what you've given in the past, yeah, it has two balconies. It does not? This one? It looks like a balcony.
It's not a balcony, there's not a railing anywhere near.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
It's the only balcony on the second floor.
Okay. I still think 20 feet gives him room to make the balcony narrower. I had a very small set of plans that I got from John, undimensioned plans, and they were a little hard for me to read.
They've been in the building department for a while.
Sir, the person is mostly impacted, and the question stands now. And I think what this board is really going to look into in terms of the visual impact from that deck to your property. The request before this board is more screening to try to assist in your privacy issue and the applicants. And that we would take that as a reasonable request.
Right.
How do you feel about it?
And it's half of the request. So first of all,
This is the first opportunity that I've had to say anything to you, even though I've tried over a period of 3 or 4 months. And so I want to thank you for doing that. You know, I brought in my own experts to do this, and my pocket is $200,000 lighter as a result of doing all of these things. I want to thank you, first of all, because this house would not look the way it looks today without your perseverance, and I think that's important, not for me, but it's important for Southampton. Mark may take credit for that because of the moratorium, but it's not Mark. You know that, I know that. It's as a result of your perseverance.
Mark signs the check, so he did a good job.
The second thing I just wanted to point out is that from my own personal privacy perspective, I would have been far better off with a 27-foot high glass box, which is where we started this process. And I just want you to know that the reason that I was trying to oppose that wasn't my own personal perspective. It was because of Southampton. It was the wrong house in the wrong place. I recognise now, you know, you can go through the data, but as of October, this proposal was the second tallest house above grade built in the FEMA zone. So it's very high. I don't want to debate height. That debate's already been had. But as a result of that height, what that means, of course, is that it looks down over my property, because it's also the closest distance between two properties in, you know, the neighbourhood. That's no fault of their own property. It's because mine is a non-conforming property. But I can't do anything about that. You know, I mean, I'm stuck with what I got. It's a historic building in a historic property. What I'd like to do, obviously, and I think Diane is sharing this, is to try and get as much privacy between the two of us that we can. I think that's a reasonable request. It's the only request that I'm making of you tonight. You haven't heard any others. And I think there's two ways that I would hope that we can do it. One is to reduce the size of that upper level balcony by some degree. Jeff was mistaken in one of his statistics tonight. My balcony, which faces the ocean, is 3 feet, protrudes 3 feet. On the west side, it protrudes about 6 feet. That's a reasonable sized balcony, I think. I'm not asking for no balcony. That's not reasonable. You need a balcony coming off the master bedroom. I recognise that. And the second thing I'd like to do, I have Leyland cypresses back in another house that I have in Manhasset. They grow like crazy. I think John probably has them too. You know, I don't know whether Leyland cypresses can be planted in this environment. I guess they can if John has them. But you know, there's a landscaper that I know from the Cornell extension who is not a paid landscaper. He is somebody who is an expert, and I'd just like to consult him and have him talk to you about what he thinks is the most appropriate landscaping for that area. This will, if you approve it, cause a delay of 2 weeks. I'm hoping that that's not considered material in getting all of the data before you. I know it's been a long, drawn-out process, but this is the first opportunity in all that time that I've had to address you all, and it's not been my fault. I've been trying hard, bringing my folks here, you know, to come and talk to you. And I do hope then, you know, two things. One, it's possible to reduce that balcony some, and secondly, that we could all agree that the landscaping plan is the best possible landscaping plan that we can do for that. That's really all I wanted to say, and I just thank you for your time and your attention.
As a neighbor, a couple of questions. A, do you have any issues with the architecture of the structures?
I think the architecture is wonderful, and I think you all agree to that as well. To your credit.
To B, the impact in terms of height. Any concerns?
I think I have major concerns about that. It's a huge impact, but I think, you know, the moratorium considered that and approved it. So I think that's a battle that was lost. I wouldn't say it's acceptable, but it's been accepted. I mean, Mark said to me, you know, we focus on the height and we only focus on the height on this, but, you know, your privacy issues, you, Neil, have to take to the ARB because they deal with this all the time. And they have a lot of case history of dealing with privacy issues. And all I ask from you is that if that's the case, that you're consistent with this.
Okay. And so your only grievance this evening has to do with the second-story deck, the length of it, and the impact of your privacy because of it.
I think I'm making that pretty clear, sir.
I'm making sure that we're thorough about, because I don't want anything else to pop up down the road. So we're just referring to the second-story deck, the privacy issue, and your request this evening is to have your own professional come and do a landscape evaluation.
Two requests: landscape evaluation and consideration that the deck is the upper deck, which is 440 square feet, is less than is reduced in size. That's my only consideration. That's my only request.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mrs. Grossman?
No, if it's going to remain.
If you have to come before the,
Well, just before, I do want to, this has been sort of a death by a thousand cuts. Mr. Smith has been before this board probably 4 times. I know these are new plans, but he's seen these plans. He's attacked them in the trustees twice and the planning commission. For him to suggest that he needs more time for anything is just simply not believable. He's had more than adequate time. He comes in here every time and says, I need more time, I need more time, I need more time. The Grossmans would like to build their house. And the Grossmans have now done an entire 180 and given this board, and I think this village, a wonderful plan. It's an oceanfront parcel. They're entitled to an oceanfront deck. The size of the deck is not unreasonable. They'll screen it. They want their privacy as much as anyone. Mr. Smith, if Mr. Smith was concerned about any of the landscaping or landscaping ideas of his own or wanted to bring in an expert, he's had months to prepare that. Months. So I'd ask you to close it and for a written decision, of course, because it's in the historic district. I would respectfully request that.
Could I just say so that the moratorium refused to consider? Mark told me we cannot consider privacy issues. They have to come to this board. You can ask him, you can check. I would love to have raised that, but I wasn't allowed to raise that. I would have loved to have raised with you a lot earlier the whole issue of the house, but I don't know if you recall the first time there weren't enough members present there for the meeting. One of them had to leave. Then there was another time where I don't recall something, you wanted more time. The third time it hit the moratorium. I brought 3 consultants in 3 times who didn't get heard at that previous meeting. I don't think this delay is down to me, and I'm certainly not deliberately delaying this. I have no control over your schedule or the fact that the thing goes into the moratorium. That's beyond me. I haven't delayed this once in my view.
Thank you.
However, all of Mr. Smith's presentations before every one of those boards dealt with every single one of those issues. He was admonished that it was about height, but he talked about privacy. He talked about closeness to proximity to his property. He talked about height. He had the full panoply of issues before every one of those boards. So for him to claim that he's not prepared tonight is his own fault, because he had more than enough time to have an expert. Now he wants a landscape expert. I promise you next week it'll be something else. We have more than enough information to decide this matter. And if Mr. Smith doesn't have his ducks in a row, he certainly had plenty of time, more than enough time. Again, before the trustees, before he went to.
John, what I will say is, if this board makes any recommendations, it would be for increased screening, which we would need to see a plan to do so anyway.
Well, I said immediately that we would supplement it with the same sized tree, and that could be a condition of the.
It would have to be included in a fully proposed landscape plan. In this scenario, we would definitely need to.
Could we take a 5-minute recess, please?
I can
5-minute recess? Yeah, another question?
I was just going to say, besides ARB and trustees, it also went through a full vetting with the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Understand.
Can I
You
just
can't-
have to
you
say,
can't do it in an executive
I have to say
session.
for the
Okay.
just for the record that this case wasn't even on your agenda this morning. We found out about this case later in the day.
Yes, it was.
Well, I'm sorry. We had to call in today. That's correct. We called in Friday to see whether it was on your agenda. It was not on the agenda. It wasn't posted.
I've always seen, I'm sorry, I've seen this on the agenda and I get the agenda before anyone else.
Well,
We didn't
sir,
see it on
if I can say just factually, and I have a copy of this that I printed this morning, the first time we found this was on the agenda was 10:30 this morning when Mr. Bennett very kindly sent us the information. I called Bo on Friday, probably before he was heading off on vacation, and he never got back to us. I called Steve. I emailed Steve on Friday. We didn't know this was on the agenda until 10:30 this morning. That's the first that we heard about it. And I've got the emails to Steve if you want to see that.
There's something to be said for, there has been some time that's gone by in terms of the involvement and your involvement in this application, some dialogue, and if your application, if your argument had to do with privacy, you did have suitable time to come up with some type of alternative other than just a reduction.
This has never
But
been
this has
before
been-
this board.
the trustees
This plan has
wouldn't-
never been before this board.
There was always
And we have never had an opportunity to address you. I stood in this room ready to go in October when they brought the plan in, and the boards, and you, Mr. Chairman, said, we're not going to see this because this moratorium's kicking in tomorrow. So this is the first time this plan has been presented to you, and in this context, to us.
If you recall, sir, the very last presentation to you was an entirely different design, and it actually had shutters on the side of the house where the balcony was, which didn't require the same kind of privacy issues. That was the last presentation to you. Those shutters existed. When we got to the Board of Trustees, to which I made one presentation, not multiple presentations, one presentation, and that was on November the 25th. It was then adjourned. We were told specifically and by Mark that we have to bring our privacy issues to the ARB. They were only going to consider height issues. They're not going to consider privacy issues. And the last time you saw this, it had shutters on the side of that balcony, as you probably remember.
Actually, it did have shielding. It did have the.
It did.
The lower.
It was a modern house.
Yeah. But it was a modern house, correct. To state my case, Brian, do you have any comments before we proceed further?
What I'm taking from this is it's a privacy issue that has to do with landscaping. I don't think the deck needs to be reduced. I think that would hinder the architecture, and it's, it is an oceanfront home, and everyone is on the ocean wants to have their balcony on the ocean. I do appreciate what you were saying about the deeper the deck, the more privacy that you have because you won't be out onto the edge of it. I think as you reduce it more, you'll be more toward the edge of it. But you're not going to be on the edge anyway because you're just going to be appreciating the ocean. So I think there's plenty of room in a setback on their property and plenty of room in the setback on the Smith's property to landscape whatever's needed to shield this deck.
And the appropriate screening height.
Right. That's my opinion.
Esther?
I couldn't agree anymore. I think that the size of the deck in relationship to the size of the house and the scale of the house is entirely appropriate. I don't think reducing the size of the deck is going to accomplish anything. And I do agree that if you have a smaller deck, you're going to be more inclined to have less room to sit back and enjoy the view, which is really what you're going to be doing on an oceanfront house.
It's an outside room.
We all agree. I think that there is enough room between the two houses that two intelligent people and some talented landscape architects can put together a plan to successfully screen the property between the two of you. I do not see a reason to hold up this application for that. I think that both parties very much want to have their own privacy. I think it's certainly achievable.
Christine?
I agree. I don't think making the deck smaller would solve the problem. That's either a deck or there isn't a deck. And the deeper it is, the more privacy there'll be. And the landscaping, I think, can be resolved if we specify the number of trees and the height that they have to be.
That specification has to be before we give a written decision.
Well, you could make the same specification that's on the plan. You could condition it, invoke it. I've seen them do that, right? The requirement that there's the initial tree.
There's a third. We're recommending a third tree.
Yes, and we're accepting the condition.
We're accepting the condition, one more London plane tree
Of the same height.
of the same height.
Again, part of the plan, part of the application, part of the file before we'll give written decision.
Well, we
That
can't
will be a
give,
part of it.
we can't give written decision anyway.
Before we give written decision, that would have to be part of the file.
Oh, that's, yeah, of course.
So would that give me a chance to discuss, debate with you the landscaping, which is all I'm requesting?
I'm sorry?
Would it give me a chance to view that landscaping and debate it with you, or is this simply just going to be stipulated without any input from me?
We would close the application for this evening for a written decision by council with the requirement that the landscape reflect what has been discussed today in terms of the additional tree as well as the height. And that will be part of the written decision.
How can you close the record? I have to raise this as a procedural issue. How can you close the record from comment and allow a brand new document to come in this record that we won't have a chance to look at. That is just improper procedure. If you're bringing a new document in front of you that's going to influence your decision, we have the right to see the completed document, not to hear a description of what they're going to do, to see it, to lay a scale on it, to look at it. That is not only common sense, it's protecting due process. You don't close a record and then admit new evidence into the record. I object to that.
To the contrary, and the issue has been litigated, and the issue was litigated on the 40 Meadow Lane case. The 40 Meadow Lane case, there was
Jeffrey.
Oh, be quiet.
Guys, please.
All right, no, I want to give you case law. In the 40 Meadow Lane case, subsequent to the Zoning Board of Appeals decision, subsequent to the Zoning Board of Appeals hearing, there were amended documents that were submitted as per the direction of the Zoning Board of Appeals. That was attacked, and the Supreme Court upheld it because it said the directions were clear, there were minimal changes, and there was plenty of opportunity.
It is, and just to let you know, it is a practice that we have precedent and have done in the past, and there's never been any concern or issue.
You had to reopen 40
That is
Lane.
not
We're
that is not true.
about that. We're talking about
So just trying to find
conditioned
a solution.
landscaping.
Could you close it, but with the exception of landscaping? I mean, it's 2 weeks we're asking for here. I'm not going to raise other issues.
I'm sorry, if the application is closed, it's closed for all purposes. There are no...
Would you accept a promise from me that I will only raise landscaping issues?
Unfortunately, the board is, and I'll see how the board feels, and trust me when I say, this board is very sympathetic to neighbors' privacy.
That's what you've told me.
We've always been so. And we vetted over this application for this evening and over some time now. So it's not, I understand your argument that this is the first time this design has been before this board. This design doesn't have an issue. What has an issue is the privacy concerns. And we've heard the testimony of all parties, and we've made our decision that it does not hinder if the procedure is followed in an appropriate manner. And that is the additional trees added, and the height is mandated by the size which has been discussed this evening.
Okay. I mean, just the size, the height that you would mandate, do you know what that is?
So it was 24 to 26 feet.
But the floor where my feet are on that balcony is 26 feet high. If I'm a person, I'm 32 feet high. Whatever the height of that, I'll be looking over the tree, or not?
If the tree was leaning against the house, I would say so. The distance between the tree and the side of the house gives you a line of sight, which will actually, in my opinion, give you the privacy that's required and give the homeowner the privacy that they require as well. We're referring to line of sight, not just the height.
No, I agree. But, you know, those documents that I presented to you, which Rick Scott, your own architect, did from his own model, actually show a very accurate and true line of sight. That shows full exposure of the pool. I was rather hoping that, you know, maybe Leyland cypresses, which I know grow faster, could be even taller than that. I just don't know what height they could be put in at. I'm not qualified enough to know this. What I'd like to do is explore that just for 2 weeks, because, you know, I just want to make sure that we get an agreement about the maximum, not only species, but height of trees.
Board members?
I'm firm with how I feel. That I
Christine?
think adding another tree, and then it's a neighbor issue, basically.
Christine?
I agree.
We've had this issue in the village many, many times, and we've not required people to come back with elaborate plans where we feel the addition of another tree is going to be sufficient.
We've actually had a landscape architect on record come and do the changes or make the amendment to the actual plan itself and submit that as evidence as well. So that has been what we've done in past times, and I believe that this board has vetted over the application, and that's the decision that we're decided to make. Anything in regards to the historic nature of the application?
No, I think this is a much more suitable design than the other one. I think we're all in agreement. This is quite majestic, actually.
Okay, anything further from the public? Okay. Motion to close the application for written decision. However, those plans have to be in file before you will receive the written decision at our next meeting.
Understood.
And we
Motion
trust you're going to work together as good neighbors to come up with a plan that's going to be to everybody's benefit.
I have our agreement.
Okay.
Motion.
I make a motion to close the application for 450 Gin Lane for written decision by council, subject to the stipulations about the additional trees and landscaping and screenings, and the hope that the neighbors can work together, and maybe we can have peace in
Tree
the
height
Middle East
between
and everywhere
20
else.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your
Good
time.
luck, everybody. I'd like to take a recess.
You need a 5-minute break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, motion to reopen.
I make a motion that we reopen the meeting of the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation on January 12th, 2015.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, I'm sorry, first application, non-historic.
Bert Greenberg, 146 Cooper's Farm Road.
Good evening, Board. Paul Delzato, General Contractor for Dr. Greenberg. Actually, Mr. Greenberg just stepped out to the bathroom, so I'll remind him that we're ready. He was the applicant. I'm the general contractor for Dr. Greenberg. And we're looking to build the cabana pool house in the back side of their property. It's a small piece of add-on. It's only 510 square foot. It does have a pergola over it also that faces the pool side.
Just an FYI, if you ever present before the board again.
Yes, sir.
And actually will be a requirement of the building department going forward, hopefully soon. We look for smaller plans.
Smaller plans?
It's very
Understood.
difficult in the
Okay, understood.
course of a meeting to have full set of plans here.
Those are actually pictures of the entire backyard.
Thank you for
Trying to give
marking the area.
Welcome.
I didn't have a problem.
Yeah, it's very. Very modest. I don't have a concern or issue with it.
Okay.
Brian, do you have any concerns with the cabana?
No, not at all.
I have no concerns with
Nope.
Is there any public comment on the application? Please step forward.
I haven't seen the plan.
If you step forward, I need your name for the record.
My name is Ann Bichent. I haven't seen the plan yet.
You have not seen the plan yet. There is a cabana. Have you? You need to see the cabana?
Yes,
Okay.
may I see that?
Do yourself a favor.
Yes.
To avoid a rollover for our next meeting.
Okay.
I'm going to give this set of plans to you.
Okay.
I'm going to allow you to go out to the hallway and have her review it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you two to come back, and at that time, we'll make a decision. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Great. Thank you.
Application remains open. We'll do a second call. Next application, please.
Are we doing this one next? Are we calling in the order?
Yeah.
The next application is Lucy Bushman, 437 Hill
I
Street.
believe that application it was closed for written decision, wasn't it? Or-
No, it's non,
It was left open? Okay.
it's non-historic.
Terrence McKean, representing Will Manier Architect. As per our last meeting, we have a letter from the landscape architect as requested by the board. Would you like to see a copy of it? Do you have one there, or?
The only issue, I believe, was
That
there
was
was some question about, the neighbor was concerned that there was gonna be some impact from the proposed hemlock on plantings that she had made, but there's a fence and then a line of hemlock. I think that was the only open issue.
I have down that, Mr.
It was
Robinson.
left open for all intents and
Excuse me,
purposes.
one second. Where's the record, Steve?
It said Mr. Robinson would like the hearing left open due to the fact that the information from the arborist be vetted out to the board.
Yeah, this is the letter, we have a letter.
You need to see this?
Please.
That was the only thing. Correct, that was the, again, I wasn't here, but I watched the tape.
He said
notice there's a fence in between, I believe the neighbor concerned has planted a fence along the property line, so that will be also in between the proposed hemlock planted as well as the neighbor's.
Read into the record.
This should be read into the record.
This is addressed to John. It says, "I am sorry I can't attend tonight's ARB meeting at 7 tonight. As of now, I've not heard back from my partner, Elizabeth Lear, to see if she can attend. Regarding the existing plantings on the west neighbor's side, number one, along the main part of the flag lot, the plantings on the westerly neighbor's property are predominantly young green giant arborvitae and older large white pines and some holly. Number one, under that, the trunks are completely located off of the 437 property line and are shade-tolerant species. Number two, the white pines have some larger branches that overhang 8 to 12 feet into 437, causing shade, which is why we are proposing screening on 437's property with shade-tolerant plants, hemlocks. Number three, the overall health of the green giants is good. The white pines are in fair condition. The hollies are leggy and could benefit from a little pruning. A little pruning the neighbor's own trees. 4, 437 has ample room to plant these hemlocks alongside of the drive without adversely affecting the neighbor's plants. Furthermore, the neighbor's plants will receive more light than 437's as they face west. Number 2 now. Along the flag part of 437, the westerly neighbor has forsythia. Number 1, all of which are completely off of the 437's property. Number 2, the overhead space is open and plenty of light penetrates down to the forsythia. Number 3, 437 is proposing mirroring the privet plantings on the east side, though on the neighbor's property of the flag lot. The privet maintained to about 12 feet in no way will kill or stunt the forsythia of the westerly neighbor, as they are strong, tough plants. Number 3, in general, the design of the proposed plantings is typical for the area, typical for the screening initiatives for a property of this type. Nothing is out of the ordinary, and everything will grow together in harmony with the plantings of all the neighbors surrounding 437. And this is from Brian Mahoney.
And I apologize, that's an email that he sent to me. Mr. Mahoney was somewhat confused procedurally because it is a flag lot, and last week, I think it was, forgive me if I'm wrong, but at the last planning board meeting, the planning board did approve the landscaping plan. So he didn't realize that there was this other step. So I asked him to send me a very specific email, and that's what you have, and that's what we're presenting.
Okay. Brian, satisfied?
Yes.
Christine, satisfied?
Mm-hmm.
Esther, satisfied?
Yes.
Any public comment on the application?
Yes.
Please step forward.
Whoops.
I know that this was kept open for all intents and purposes, because I heard the words, or I wouldn't have come out here tonight. I'm Ann Pine. I'm happy with the landscaping. I had Bartlett Tree come, and they confirmed that all would grow together. So I'm happy with that. But I'm really seriously unhappy. I think it was you, Mrs. Pastor, said that you thought, I think the Gin Lane house was a beautiful example of shingle style Hampton's house. My problem is that the house next to me is a beautiful example of shingle style spec house, and I really want to discuss the architecture of this. It is, as you know, because I put it in the record, I have more examples if you disagree with me. It is 2 or 3 times bigger than the 7 contiguous encircling. It's not a single encircling house that is not half to a third the size. It is way bigger mass, and that is one of your words that you can reject on. Furthermore, the proposed style is entirely different. We all know what it is. We all know it's a spec house style. It's dotted all over. And we all know that the 7 contiguous houses, it's already in the record, I won't bring out the pictures, do not resemble it in the slightest. You know, you take a house that big, and you cluster, encircle it with little houses, you have a pattern of housing that is not anywhere consistent in Southampton Village. In the estate section, everybody built big houses. Everybody came out here. It was open land. They had equal amounts of money, and they built big houses. North of Hill Street, These were settlers, original settlers. They were freemen, they were proprietors. It was very democratic, and they lotted their houses. And to this day, with the exception of a few of these spec houses that you, in my opinion, wrongfully allowed, we don't have the pattern of the big manor house and the little European cottages around of the people who work in the manor house. That is nowhere in Southampton, and that is what you're creating. This house is, your word is harmony here. It's not compatibility, I realize that. It is dissonant to have a huge or 2-3 times bigger house next to you. This house brags. That's not a harmonious relationship. It's about power. It's about money. The surrounding houses are about moderateness, modesty. This is a serious dissonance that you're creating. The details are different. The details on these spec houses are, these are false architectural signs. You've got these applied gambrel roofs. They're probably this deep. And then you have to suggest a pitched roof like the rest of us have. You have big swooping eaves to make it look like, oh, it's a cottage. There's just a little half story up there. These are deceptive buildings. This is very simply clipped from the architect's design. Look at this. Grand, attempting to be grand Palladian windows. It wouldn't pass for the house you liked over here in the corner. And here is the next elevation. It looks like a warehouse. I mean, Mr. Brady, you told me once upon a time that Mr. Pressman's house next to me was going to be was a beautiful example of classical evolving architecture. You know, I hate to embarrass you. I don't even have my picture here. I'm going to get it. This is what it looks like. It's a heap of concrete and dormer windows. This is not classical architecture. It's the same thing going on here. These elements, you all know this, they're fraudulent. All of them. This is a fraud. This is the truth. We don't have lines like this in our houses. Look at this mess here. I mean, I asked people on this, you know, who were over at my house when I was, what is, oh, a warehouse. This is the front. Oh. This is the side, and the back is all sliding glass doors of the 1960s. We're not getting the right kind of houses that have any, that this is, you're killing these neighborhoods. And how the village, I know that my white pines, it's all going to grow fine. You know, I don't care. But this is a whole neighborhood that had a lot of integrity. And you have the right, Mr. Highsmith, to say no on these words. Mass, line, style. These are the words in your little paragraph. Location on the property. This is going east-west, the front. Everything else goes north-south, the front. I mean, you have the language to do it. It's your judgment. I realize that. But it says you're required if you find it. And if you all sit here and really, here's me. I have to admit I trespassed. Okay, bring the jail. This is the Farrell house that you approved last year. And this, excuse me, I'm so dark. This is me, okay? This is me, exactly the same size, in front of our cottage, which abuts this. This is me, exactly the same size, in front of the Robertson's house, which this abuts. This is me in front of 45 Moses Lane. Now, these are gross differences. I'm sorry to tell you, they are gross differences. And they also are creating a pattern that is dissonant in the entire village. As I said, big house, little houses. You don't have that in the estate section. If you do have a little house, it's on 5 acres. But here, it's disruptive of the pattern, and it's sort of a disgusting pattern, really, to put a big fancy house or attempting to be fancy around smaller houses. I mean, I'm not going to sell, but other people, neighbors, most of these people, the neighbors, I'm not going to call them up. They're going to sell their lots. Are you kidding? Oh, there's money there. But it's for the village. Where are you going to be with no... This is a very nice neighborhood. This isn't a neighborhood where you want to take a bulldozer. Sure, you want to rebuild houses, recreate them, make them more contemporary, whatever. It's the mass that kills the idea of the neighborhood. And this is trash. I'm sorry. This is architectural trash. And you all know it. This isn't what you approved around Lake Agawam. it's not interesting, it's repetitive, it's development, it's plump, plump, plump. Put them all together, it's a development. It's development housing. There's a rubber stamp architect who's fulfilling a contractor's specifications. There's usually no client. There's usually no landscaping except 100 arborvitae and a fence. I mean, this isn't a neighborhood kind of episode. Thank you for listening to me, and I have ample more stuff to show you, but I think I would like an architectural review board that talks about architecture, that knows these are fake gambrels to suggest a pitched roof, because I know you know that. I mean, I would like to discuss how this side is completely incoherent with this front. I like real architectural discussions. And I think that's important, not just shingles. Shingles are camouflaging. This is basically a 1930s bank. It's a big, fat square. Shingles are disguising that. This isn't a shingle-style house. You know what a shingle-style house is. It's not a big, fat square with a flat roof. And that is what this is if you take away the false ornament that suggests something else. Our houses in our area, however simple they are, they suggest, the ornament suggests what they are. It's authentic. There's one house here that's just 4 plate glass windows, a simple pitched roof, a rectangle. It suggests what it is. It's authentic. This thing is inauthentic, and the people who buy it are buying it for speculation, and they're making money, they're flipping it, probably, and they're not going to invest in the village. I feel very strongly about that. I'm happy about the planning.
Thank
It's
you.
not going to influence me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any additional public comment?
Just very quickly, obviously, you folks all know this, but the comments were all primarily related to size. The parcel is not in the historic district. It conforms with the GFA limitations, the height, the size, the setback. And
Look at it.
I believe the board is aware of the fact that they have no site plan review authority, which is what is being asked for here. I thought that this matter was closed, except for the comments from Mr. Mahoney, who's a licensed landscape architect, which you have, and I would ask you to close, and respectfully ask you to close and move forward.
Any additional public comment? Esther, any comments?
I think the issue here, Ms. Pine, is that our zoning really is what needs to be addressed, and we need more clout as board members, because the code does not give us what we need, and we are bound by things like gross floor area and things of that nature. And we've talked about this, and it's been litigated. It's very, very difficult for us to say that we'd like to see every house look like the Grand Shingle House. We all really know what great architecture is. Unfortunately, not everyone has the budget to be able to do that. And as a limited board, it's very difficult to sit here and redesign every single house that comes before us.
We
so
don't.
we have to make considered opinions given what we have in our code.
Could I just answer you?
I think
We're just going to panel the board, please.
we'd like to panel the
And
board.
just to reiterate, we are not a board of designing applications. We're a board that reviews applications as they come before this board. Christine?
I agree with Esther.
Brian?
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I agree with Ann, it's just, it is a zoning issue, and it's a compromise, and we try to do our best.
I am not asking you to change, to do anything that interferes with zoning. You have the right to reject plans that are not harmonious. I don't care. What does it have to do with zoning? Why can't you read your code? Why can't you? And I object about this money issue. The neighbors here, their houses, they're not wealthy houses, but they don't disrupt the pattern of the village. They're not great design. But when you take a massive house, it disrupts the pattern, and you do have the authority. I can't understand why you all act like this. I scratch my head. I read the code. It's only one paragraph. And I don't understand why you can't say this house is not harmonious. I don't understand it.
What you've read has been legislated. There have been decisions based on this board making a stand in terms of reducing size.
Mr. Highsmith.
So we have to be specific and we have to be very careful when it comes to...
You can tell this builder or this owner to change the massing. You don't have to have him change the size. You can say, change the massing, make it additive, put it half on one floor. He has plenty of land so he can stretch out in various ways, and he can change the impact. We've been through this. He can detach the garage. He can do this. He can do that. You have the authority to do that. If you don't, what is your board doing? Just signs and Juliet balconies? Privacy isn't even in your code. It's something you invented to give yourself a raison d'etre. The word privacy ain't in here. And the word neighbor's not in here. Sorry, you're spending your time on something that's not in the code, and maybe you're afraid to. Maybe you're afraid of getting a lawsuit. And as far as the Ferrara case, that only went to Riverhead. That doesn't make it law. Nobody challenged it. Somebody could have challenged, as I'm challenging, and I think the 40 Meadow Lane. We're challenging these same cases in Brooklyn. We don't give up because some judge in Riverhead is dictating through a sloppily written argument, probably, because you didn't know really what size and mass, and, you were out for...
He's not here.
Yeah, I'm glad he's not too. I looked over there before I started that comment. But, seriously, it was the first time out, but it's not definitive. And I'm fighting it, and I because it's a sloppy decision, and it could be reversed. You shouldn't ruin the village because of one decision. And you should try to reject this and see what happens. Because you have the authority. So I don't like the idea you have to be wealthy to make a nice small house. These houses, these spec houses, I think you said that, and you may not have meant it, that we all can't make beautiful architecture. It doesn't cost that much money to make something authentic and decent and appropriate. It costs a lot to live here, but within that context. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Nothing further from the board? No. All right. We have a written decision in here, and I'm assuming that was held off for clarification for the information and with regards to potential litigation, reason why it was put in writing. So, since it is part of the file and the application has been completed based on the standards this board has requested, motion to approve written decision by council, which is the approval of the application.
I make a motion to approve written decision by council for Lucy Bushman, 437 Hill Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I would fall over.
Thank you all. Good night. Let me know when you want a seat on the board, Ann.
1 second, we just have a recall.
Let me know when you want a seat on the board.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Is there a recall?
You want me to come up tonight?
You got it.
Thank you.
Mrs. Greenberg?
Oh, yes, Greenberg, okay.
I'm Dr. Greenberg.
Oh,
Nice to meet you all, and good evening.
Board, also, if we could see.
Before you start, I'm sure I just want to hear her discussion. You had discussion in the lobby.
Yes.
There was an opposition. You had a question with regards to reviewing the file.
Yes.
Do you have any issue with the architecture as it stands?
No, it looks,
Do you have any issues with the
Very
plans that's
nice.
being proposed?
the landscape in the plans is not as it is actual. I'm just asking for screening. So, I'm on I am on the left of the house, the south side.
Okay.
So we're going to be looking at the pool house. It's 30 feet long, and the height is 16 feet high.
What's there currently?
Nothing, just trees.
Just trees. There's no hedge. There's no
There's no hedge.
privet. Nothing.
No, not on their side.
Do you have a Okay, thank you. Do you have a landscape plan in mind? Or at
We
least
do,
proposed?
but there's, in the pictures, if you notice on the pictures, a lot of the trees that are very wide, it will completely screen that. If you can go back to the photos that were taken exactly of the backyard, That actually would be really helpful for all.
Okay, there's a fence there. What's the height of that fence?
It's 8 foot right now.
8 foot. And then there's a row of,
They're providing, I don't know. What they are.
I thought they looked like arborvitae here. But
Arborvitae
they're
on
on
my
her
side.
property, correct?
Yes.
So they're her trees.
What
It's not unreasonable to
side is
request.
your property?
Well, that's his property.
That's his, yes, but
Her
where?
property
what
is
is
right
she-
here.
I know, but is she being screened by this?
Mhm.
This is property. This is where they. It's not unreasonable to request additional screening on your part. You are adding a structure to the rear of the property. I know it's only 1 story, it's only 16 feet, but to add a little additional layer of buffering wouldn't hurt. Is that reasonable?
Yes, yes. Just so it's sufficient in the winter as well. A hedge or something that's not going to lose their.
You want something evergreen?
Evergreen.
To kind of follow what you are on your side is evergreen, we'll do evergreens on Dr. Greenberg's property. And you have my cards if you have any questions. All right, thank you.
Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Okay. Any other objections? Any further public comment on the application? Thank you for being reasonable. And thank you for being a good neighbor.
Thank you. Thank you, board. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve Greenberg 146 Cooper's Farm Road with the condition that you screen evergreen and like kind to your neighbor. And good luck and thank you.
Thank you guys for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is Jane Moss, 53 Howell Street. Hi.
Jane Moss. Jane Moss? Hi.
Hi.
Garage or something?
Is he presenting?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a big dog house. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
And we've had babies, we've had dogs.
We've had babies, we've had dogs, we've had Hatfield, McCoys.
Because we
fighting
live
back
here.
and forth. I know.
And we don't even have coffee.
Oh, okay, this is the accessory structure, correct?
Yeah.
Small, modest, less than 16 feet. What's the dimensions? Do you know the dimensions?
I don't do numbers.
It's like a little potting shed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
16 by 14?
Any public comment on the application? I think you guys will agree to anything right about now, right? All right, motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve Moss, 53 Howell Street.
Okay?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very well behaved.
He's got to pee.
Yeah. Okay.
Only copy of this tape. Looks like she did. Next application, please.
Next application is for Mark and Andrea Polsky, 145 Breeze Lane.
Hello, I'm Alex Perdomo from the Architectural Review. From the architectural team. Here to present on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Polsky. When we last time we were here, we were requested that we provide a drawing with the existing condition of the house plus the proposed, as well as some renderings. So I have those for you right now. How many sets?
while Alex is talking, I think the issue was the lack of balance between the windows on the north and the south side.
Yeah.
So.
That's been corrected.
Front door.
Yeah.
And the front door.
Yes.
The big round window.
We have a round window. We have a square window. We're going to ask you which you prefer.
Okay.
We're not going to hold one in the back pocket. We're not going to hold it in the back pocket. We're going to
Suddenly it comes out of
which one
nowhere,
do you
yeah.
want? Alex, if you could show the board both the round window and the square window.
Okay, let me.
This is the first time we're seeing these. We have not seen these before.
Correct.
This particular demonstration, no.
Okay.
This is, yeah, this is a cassette. So during the last round, we had proposed a round window. And you requested that we provide a 3D rendering of the drawing of the round window, just to be able to visualize the depth of the window. So I provided 2 elevations, 2 renderings of the same, with the same round window. And I also have a second option with a rectangular window, which is an alternate design, also providing elevations for your review.
But we've also
Obviously-
changed it, Alex, we've also, please note, we've also changed the, balance the windows on the north and the south side as well.
To create some symmetry as requested. Now, I should note that my client's request is that, or
Is either or?
preference is that we,
No, this is existing.
that we keep the round windows.
I'm going to make a comment. It is 10 o'clock at night. This is the first time I am seeing this application and these, not the application, but these drawings. And I really would like an opportunity to think about them.
We presented the round window last time. We're just providing
No.
a rendering of it.
Let's keep it simple. No?
Okay.
You know what, you're absolutely right.
Better?
Okay.
Much simpler. Thank you, Mr. Heisman. That's right.
I got that one.
So, take
Yeah,
this and
out.
go bye-bye.
Thank you.
Out.
Has to otherwise get break.
So now we're referring to this design. It's 3-dimensional.
This one?
That's what I have.
No, that goes bye-bye.
Wait, why do you have a different one to me?
Same.
It's not, they're different. And we only have one, what about the others, the side elevations of the house?
We already have, they haven't changed. The issue is the facade of
The issue had to do with this.
East
I remember that.
Okay, we had issue with 2 things, actually. The doorway, in more detail in terms of the doorway and dimensions,
What do you have?
and that
No, you wanted.
Victorian window that.
Well, you wanted the,
No,
you
you-
wanted the north windows and the south windows, the north and south windows.
Correct.
They were, there was no symmetry between them. Now that's been fixed. I heard that as a clear command. And then I heard some concerns about the round window as opposed to a square or rectangular window. Some other people heard some other things, but I thought I heard, that's what I heard. So we're giving you, the client would like the round window, but there's an option for the square window, the center window. So, which, obviously, if that's your choice, that's what we would go
And what
with.
about this one down here?
That's existing.
Yeah.
That's existing, which we thought was better.
I'm coming back to that. I still think it's better.
What they were doing is, see the doorway?
Yeah.
They're moving it over, so
They get a 2-story space.
I
and then
understand that.
space.
I mean, it's certainly an improvement over the last one. I'll grant you that.
Well, you have the symmetry between the windows, and you have a.
The reason why this design is happening is all interior. It has
it's all
nothing to do with
understand
that
that.
drives it, yeah.
That doesn't make the
It's-
exterior right.
It doesn't. And I don't know how to make it better. Brian?
It's less offensive.
It's less offensive. I still have an objection with that front door. I don't think that's appropriate for our village.
Did you, What did we do? We get rid of the.
I'm talking about the
pediments
door
still there?
itself. The door itself.
Oh, the actual physical, not the location, the door
The
itself.
door itself. It's a modern door with a circle and glass, and we're used to solid panel doors
Make it a
with
solid panel door.
With side lights.
side lights or.
We're gonna have a
you know.
solid panel door with side lights. You have to kill that.
You have that in your back pocket?
John, I think with all due respect, I think you're going to have to come back with.
I understand. I understand. I'm not-
Thank you.
I'm not-
Well, I think we have some common ground now.
You're headed in the right direction.
The door is this only concern, let's make sure so when the
It's
applicant
my
comes
concern.
back-
Make sure it's everybody's.
It is a concern.
The door itself, the design of the door is the issue.
So we're okay with the pediment. Would you prefer the circular center window or the square one? The
Square.
Square.
Okay, so it's going to be a square window, and this door is going to be a traditional door. It's going to be a solid door, maybe with side
That's just
panels.
a specification, yeah, we can change that door. The opening still remains, we can just give you a single door with two side panels.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
It's a long evening. We'll get out of the way.
Well, I mean, I still want to be thorough, just because it's late evening and.
And there are too many choices at this point.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're right, requesting this board to adjourn. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
Make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 145 Breeze Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
What can you do?
Yeah,
You
I'm
can
gonna focus
shorten the
on
agenda.
I agree with you.
It's ridiculous.
This is for my.
But I want, and then
And
this
this
is
one done?
my bookmark, yeah.
The impact of not having a meeting in.
And this one's done?
Ms. Warren?
Yes.
So it's just that one?
Yeah, just this one.
Next application, please.
I'm being positive.
Next application is David Steinberg, 32 North Woolley Street.
Oh, I had trouble.
I don't think the new plans were going to so we're seeing these with this camera.
I'm CEO Liu, the architect for the 32 North Woolly. These are the
Big
revised.
Are they
That's the
reduced size?
full size.
Are they
I
re-
have smaller
Thank you.
sizes also.
Both sets of plans are identical?
Yes.
There's no change between the smaller set to dimension and size?
No. This is the smaller one. And I have the 2D. Here. And site plan.
Sorry?
Site plan.
We only have two sets, so
I have 2 sets big, 2 sets small, and 2 sets of 3D.
you two share that one.
So last time the board asked me to make some changes and make the changes to present.
Wait. Can you move a little closer to the microphone? Sorry.
Okay. Last time the board made some suggestions, I made the changes, so I'm gonna explain from the table. I can go with the drawings.
Okay.
We'll go with the easy one first. The front door, last time, Mr. Brady made a suggestion that I should change the front door style to be more harmonious with the windows and door cuts. The window cuts, because the pane of the cut is very small. So I changed it. So this is the new design. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that he suggests that I should not to make the roof line too chaotic. And what I did is last time
roof here is a gable. I turned it into a hip roof. So if you can look at from the 3D drawing, it's probably easier to see that it's not a lot of walls and windows, so it's less crying out that there's so many roofs. And I also changed this window that is not really as consistent as the rest of the windows, so I made these two windows exactly the same. And column sizes, that's by the mudroom, it was skinny. Let's see which drawing has it. Oh, here. This one was skinny. So I changed the size so it's the same proportion as the other column. And that's the three main issue that concerns the aesthetic. And then the other issue concerns privacy is the roof deck. And the roof deck is changed. I reduced it by 50%. Therefore, it's a lot further away from the neighbor's house. And I also put in the site plan that has the screening on it, that we're going to put arborvitae on evergreen. There are existing privet all around the property, and it's about 10 feet tall. And I'm suggesting, if you can see on the site plan, I'm suggesting to put arborvitae, which is this species I picked out is about 20 to 25 feet tall, which I think is appropriate. And we're going to take out this little bit of the area of the existing privet and replace it with arborvitae for screening.
Because of the narrowness of the lot, I'm still not convinced about the second story deck.
Well, the deck, I'm calculating the plans that you approved before. There is one house that's 110 feet wide, but the roof deck you approved is 65 feet wide. So the percentage of that house that the roof deck length compare with the length of the property is 60%. What I'm presenting is I have a 60 feet wide frontage, 13 feet wide, and 20% of the width of the lot that I'm actually using as a roof deck. So I'm thinking I'm 40% less than what you approved.
I have no idea what she just said.
Okay.
It's still 15 feet from the neighbor.
Still 15 feet from the neighbor.
No, it's not 15 feet from the neighbor. It's 28 feet.
I thought we asked her for streetscape.
No, I have issue, and I'm one board member. I have issue with the second story deck.
Oh, that's right.
Well,
It
I
hasn't
am
been.
28
It hasn't
feet.
been reserved,
Okay.
in my
This is the
opinion,
only second
it hasn't been addressed.
Okay. I am 28 feet away
Here's the
from
deck.
property line. And you approved houses where they have almost an acre, 28 acre, okay? I have 60 feet wide roof deck, 20 feet away from property line. I
Do you
have
know
it
what's
in-
on the other side of the property line?
That's 57 Moses.
Yeah, but where's the house located? Where's the accessory structures? Where's the pool?
The other house is right there.
But where on the property? Is it
Well-
in relation to your deck?
Which house?
Next
The
door.
next door neighbor.
Next door
I
neighbor.
have the site plan that, if you look at the 3D, you can see the last page of it. It's an aerial photograph.
I'm going to change the subject for a moment. I'm having a real issue with the elevations and the roof lines of this house. if we're talking about Hampton's architecture, harmony, I'm very challenged by this house. There's so much going on.
This is Woolley Street.
That I find really difficult. I'm having a lot of trouble with these.
It's much better than it was.
Well, I missed the last one.
Much better.
But I'm having trouble with this.
It's the three-dimensional
I
renderings.
know, it doesn't help.
Doesn't help you.
I'd just like to see the house next door. I'd like to see.
And is there a streetscape of the other
Where's
houses?
the house next door?
It's not here.
It's in the file.
I see the file.
I
This
just
is
can't see
drawing,
how this fits in.
this is the second house over there.
This is on the corner of Pulaski and.
I don't have that, by the way.
North Woolley.
You have it, last time you saw it.
So what's next
Pulling
to
out every
Home
single
Pulaski?
document in there now.
I can give it to you.
That'd be great.
So that's what they're saying. It's really not there, but the deck is there. That's okay. That's okay, Mr. Guy.
Yeah. Okay.
While we're vetting over this, is there anything else further? Because there are a few things we're going to look at personally, and I also want to see if there's any public comment. Do you have anything further?
No.
Is there any public comment on the application as we're reviewing the app? Any comments? This is her rendition of her streetscape. Your name for the record.
Michael White, 44 Pulaski Street. I live on this street, and I think that the lot is very challenging because it's a corner lot. And, I actually know the Steinbergs, and, and I also know the neighbor that's next door, and the neighbor doesn't have a problem with the rooftop deck. And it's on a corner, so I don't know why the board would have a problem with it. Because you've approved a lot of rooftop decks in the last 6
It's not
months.
a rooftop deck, second story.
Well, second-story decks.
Well, in relation to the positioning of the property, it's the impact isn't the street, it's the neighbor to the, by variance, I believe that's the north?
So this is the house.
Neighbor to the east.
East.
On the same side of
To the east.
Pulaski, and this is
And
house.
the neighbor to the east may not always be that person.
They're all ranches.
Oh, I understand that, but.
So we have to be sensitive to the property as it stands, not necessarily the person who currently inhabits the property.
I understand
It's
that.
28 feet, and in my estimation, on a narrow lot such as this, with a prominent deck, it does
But
leave
you
room
have
for.
to think, like, when you have a 120 feet wide lot, you have all the choice where you put your roof deck. If you approved a house that's 65 feet wide deck in this lot, which is 110 feet wide, that I understand, but the roof deck is 65 feet wide also.
What is the line of sight to the property that's adjacent to that, if you're bringing that as your example?
And it is 20 feet away from the property line. I will give it to you.
On Moses.
It's
yeah,
45 Moses.
We're building a house next door to that, and their roof deck is literally 20 feet away from the house I'm building.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Well, I don't, it's screened, I mean, I don't care. I'm just saying, what she's saying is in proportion, this is a lot farther away for a lot smaller
I
piece.
can't believe this board allowed that to happen as an accessory structure. Remember, there have been decks that we have allowed in past that were non-accessible. Well, they were supposed to be per the approval.
No,
Let
I
me
have
finish.
the drawing.
Let me finish. What the applicant chose to do during the process of finalizing his construction is something different. We've allowed certain features to happen, and we made it part of our recommendation of approval, it not be non-accessible.
But isn't that arbitrary to say, this guy could have it, this guy can't have it, the guy in the ocean could have it, this guy can't? I mean, that's what this board's not supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be arbitrary or capricious, and that's what That's what's going on with rooftop decks. Because you just gave a few of them in the Roscoe Estates, and there were people against them. Because I was in one of the meetings here, and one of the neighbors was like, how are you giving a rooftop deck here?
Keep saying rooftop.
I'm
They're
sorry,
they're
second story.
Second story
Right.
decks.
So-
you're giving examples of applications that I have no idea what the final decision was.
Well, the
whether it was-
houses are up.
They may be up, but again, we gave approvals, which I now are absolutely against, where the second story deck was non-accessible.
This was 6 months ago, and you gave
I think we should probably just stay focused on this application.
On this
No, but it has everything to do with that other application, because if you give it to one person, you should be giving it to
Again, not
everybody.
knowing the parameters of that application, and I'm looking at the merits of this particular application. I gave my decision on that. Doesn't mean that the other board members have to agree with it. I said how I felt about the
No,
application.
I understand. And the other part is that this only has one neighbor. Those had two neighbors, and that's another big difference, you know? And I think it's an improvement to the neighborhood. I really think that, you know, this is an improvement, I mean, to that corner.
I understand your position.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have the house that's approved right here. I can pass it over because I didn't make a lot of copies. The lot is 110 feet wide, and this house is 65 feet wide. On one side is 20 feet to the property line. On the other side is 25 feet to the property line. And you have approved the roof deck all along this length of this house, and which is 20 feet away to another house which is very small and narrow, and the other house is only 15,000 square foot. So what I'm arguing is that this house is only 20 feet away from the property line. And you can have a big roof deck. This roof deck is 698
You guys
square
keep saying
foot.
roof deck. It's not a roof deck.
What do you call it?
It's a second story deck.
Okay, the second story deck. The second story deck is 60 feet wide, 20 feet away from the property line. And it's 698 square foot. And what I'm proposing is 156 square foot. And my lot is
Okay,
15,000
let's
square foot.
expedite
Can I
it.
finish,
Second story
please?
deck, you have any issue?
With it?
You have a
I
s-
don't, no.
Okay, Christine?
I do.
Esther?
I'm not going there because I think the house is really big for the lot. You're almost at 100% lot coverage, and I'm having a
I'm
problem
not-
with your roof lines.
I'm not at 100% lot
You're
coverage.
almost there. What's your allowable and what's your total coverage on it?
What allow is 3,700 square foot.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is 3278.
It feels very big to me, and I don't like the roof lines. That's my problem. So the roof deck, to me, is almost secondary, because I don't feel that it's aesthetically a beautiful house. I'm really troubled by the architecture of the house. I think that there's so much going on every elevation that that's really my issue with it. So that's where I am.
Okay. I have.
Any issue with the architecture?
Yeah, I think all the improvements that she made are great, but I still agree with Esther. It's just it's so busy with these roofs.
Christine, any issue with the architecture?
No, it's not simple enough. I mean, there's been improvements, but no, it could be simplified.
Okay.
The massing could be better.
This, now, and I have to
It's simple
reiterate this
Foursquare,
over
you know?
again. This board's
What a simple
responsibility,
Foursquare, yeah.
this board's responsibility is not to design your home for you. We finish, we look at a design, we look at your proposal, we look at it from a layman's perspective with exception to the architect at the end of the podium here. And we make our layman recommendations in terms of what we feel is compatible to the community. And that has to do with design, height,
The garage is a simple.
and how the house reads on the
Has
property,
a simple roof line.
which is the mass.
But that-
We can't say anything about the actual square footage, because you're allowed the square footage. But how that impacts the property,
These are
we
the
do have
type
say
of
on that.
vestibular
And
buildings and-
what our board members are saying is that it's reading complicated and very massive. And in terms of architecture, there are ways you can impact both of those and have a sensitive project or design, which we feel that would be more conforming to the community or area. That's what this board is asking.
But the architecture design is very subjective.
Yes, it is.
So what I felt is that based on the requirement by the client and the constraint of pyramid line of this lot, this is really what the best I can do. And I don't know what to do. So, you know, we had a meeting December 8th, and I worked with the client. We worked on it, and that's what he likes. He accept this is the change that he accepted, and that's what we're gonna stay with.
Where is that tree?
Well, you can present anything.
Yeah, I present. I did.
We don't have to approve it, and that's, I'm trying to assist you in letting you know that we're at a point now where you don't have a quorum to approve the application as submitted.
I don't know what to say.
You
There's
have some
nothing
very
to be changed.
wonderful elements, but there are too many of them. If you can just make it more simple, more balanced, more harmonious, make it simpler.
Like what?
I'm not going to sit here and redesign it. Just drive around the village and look at simple village houses.
This is not something that I can do.
Then I'd suggest you discuss it with your client.
No. This really, I think this is unfair.
Okay.
I think, you know, maybe there's some changes to make on here, but I think it's being very subjective. And, you
The
know.
board is subjective. That's the reason why there are five
No,
people
I
on it.
understand that, but if you drive around the village, you know, what are you gonna find in the village? You got the black Calvin Klein house that looks like a fishbowl.
Entirely
You got-
different location.
You got shingled houses. Like, what's harmonious about the village?
We're not speaking the village as a whole, because
Right.
there's obviously, if the state section, you really can't compare it to Pulaski. So,
But you're.
well, that's what you just did. You went to Calvin Klein's house and you're trying to compare it to Pulaski Street or the community of Pulaski Street, and they're two different areas.
What's on Pulaski Street? There's ranches, there's two-story shingle styles, there's vinyl siding, there's stucco,
Mm-hmm.
there's houses with, you know, 2.5 stories. I mean, what is different on this house than any other house there?
The size and how it reads on property, and based on what we're looking at in terms of a design that's before us right now.
What do you mean the size? The size is in zoning.
Again, you're allowed the square footage and the size of the property. I'm
Right.
sorry, size of the proposed residence.
Right.
The issue is, how does it read on the property? If it's
What about-
4,000 square, it's
What about
4,000
this
square foot. And look, you know what? That's a very good rendition. If you can pull that picture back up.
That's
Look at.
you approved that. That's
Yeah.
vinyl siding.
Look at the roof. Look at the roof.
Okay.
Look at the design of the house.
Okay.
It's neat. It's more. It's more. I won't say it's classical, but it's a simpler application of what's being proposed here today.
But this is another example of something you approved. You approved vinyl siding. Okay. This board
is a
approved this
huge
2 years
house.
ago.
We're just talking about the simplicity of the
the
architecture.
No, but
And
you're
we're
talking
looking-
about something that's.
We're not here to talk about every house in the village. We're
But you just
talking
said
about
that.
this application. There are too many roof lines. It's too complicated. It's too busy. If you can go back and try to make
like
it
it.
simpler,
But they
that's
like
what
it.
we're asking for. Well, we don't.
Okay, but it's their house. It's
Not
not
yet.
your house.
It's.
No, I understand. Well,
I have-
we could.
I have
I'm not.
nothing more to
I'm not going
say.
to debate this all night.
No, but
this is the bottom
problem-
line. I can't debate this all night with
Let
you
me
guys.
just say one more thing. You guys said the neighborhood, go around the neighborhood. Okay, so we pull out a picture, you said, oh, we can't debate every house. This is in the neighborhood. You gave them a vinyl sided house. And you gave them a house that's got all kinds of roof lines and everything else. Unfortunately,
You're telling-
this has a pyramid law that comes into effect. That doesn't. So that's why she was so constrained as what
We
to
can
build.
debate this all night. This board, this panel of board, have made their recommendation.
But where do you want her to
They've
go?
made their decision at this point. We can go back and forth over this all night long. On this application, not on Lewis Street, not on Elm Street, not on any other application or any other location. Your application here, as it's been presented today, And this board's and quite frankly, we have the discretion, and we were given the discretion from the Village of Southampton to do that as a complete board member. It's not one person making a decision. It is a panel of 4 right now, hopefully at the next meeting 5. They're making a decision on this application. It's done. Now, you can choose to accept that or choose not to. It's your discretion. You just don't get that building permit. It doesn't get an approval.
Can you vote on it right now?
We can vote on it right now. Are you the applicant?
No.
Then you can't ask this board to vote. The applicant can ask this board to vote.
Can you ask them to vote?
The thing is, I felt that it's very unfair to what I'm doing here. Because you can see, this is what on Pulaski, how many roof line here, and you approved, and it's 5,000 square foot, and what is the relation? This is the same size lot.
You have 6 tables
and
on
you
the
have
front.
this. This is like, you think this is beautiful?
We can. No, I never said that was beautiful. I said it was simple.
Yeah.
Big
why?
difference.
Why? I have a beautiful plan. Maybe it's a little bit not simple. I love it. It's beautiful. My clients approved it. We paid for it. Why are you telling me I must change it?
I'm telling you, is this board feels this unacceptable, and you have a discretion.
I think it's,
you have a right at this point.
I think you're discriminating.
You can either
this
request
particular
this board
part.
to vote on the application, which you won't have a favorable decision, or you can come back with a revised plan at our next meeting.
No.
Those are the 2 choices.
No, there's no changes. I
Okay,
don't know
then
how
are
to
you
make the
requesting
changes.
this board to
You
vote?
see the line
Are
here?
you, ma'am,
see
are
the
you
line
requesting
here?
this board to vote this evening?
Fine, vote.
Okay.
No, don't.
Well, I'm giving her her discretion. She doesn't have to do anything this evening. It seems she's getting. Our architect is actually going to come up with an alternative to you. I'm trying to be helpful. I really am. I'm not trying to be argumentative. And I understand it's very difficult to tell a person that their design is not acceptable. I understand that. However, we still have a program and process that we have to undertake. Before we go further, Brian, do you have anything further to state?
No.
Do you have any changes, elements, or recommendations before the applicant to go further?
To stress the point of making it simpler and to clean up the roof line, if you just did a simple mansard roof on a box, instead of having towers and gables and dormers, you don't want to do that.
Is what she's requesting. Are you requesting this board to vote? Okay. Motion to. I'm sorry. She's asking us to vote.
Do you want
is
us
there a
to-
motion
do you
before the
want to
board?
vote,
You
or
understand
do
the
you
vote
want-
is going to be a denial.
Would you like us to adjourn so that you have a chance to think about it and perhaps go back to the drawing board a little bit?
Maybe you should confer with your client before you ask us to vote and
Yes.
deny the application, and have you go through another application process.
And can I just say something?
Yes.
I feel a little bit at a disadvantage because these plans were not in the building department when we were there
They were
this
not there.
morning. We went and looked at the plans. I'm not saying it's your fault, I'm saying this is my first look at these plans. We look at our first reaction. I will look at them at my leisure and go look at the site. But right now, I agree with my board members that I feel like the massing of the house is a little too complicated and not right for the lot. I'm not as concerned about the deck if it's screened, but I am concerned about the shape of the house and the style of the house. But this was my first look at the plans.
Well,
I will go.
The reason I didn't bring the plan in is because last time when I put in the plan and it came to the board and you looked at it and said you couldn't find it. So I figured I'll bring it in. And that's a behavior that's kind of trained a little bit.
Okay, you have to understand that we go to the building department before the meetings on Friday to review all the plans. And there are so many applications these days that it really takes we're almost blindsided when someone brings something new to the meeting.
So when we go and went back again today and looked at them, it's not your fault. I'm just saying they weren't there. So this is our first look. This is my first look at them.
And it's my first look.
Her first
Well, it will be
look.
all of ours. It's the first time we've seen the
So,
plan.
I'm saying, I don't
However,
know what time you got them in. I didn't have time to go back this afternoon and have another look. So I'm recommending that you request an adjournment and go and think about them a little bit more, and we will look at them again. Think of some changes that you could make, that you're...
I can't think of anything to change. Tell me what you think I should change.
Well, I believe Mr.
Not that roof.
Okay.
Well, go and think about it.
Not that
We're
roof.
trying to be fair. Do you want to spend some time and have a conversation with your client
You should talk to
before
your
you
client.
just say no?
I'm pretty sure my client would want to change.
You sure that that's what you want us to do? I'm trying every bit of reasonable. What are you asking of this board?
I'll ask to adjourn.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is 50 James Street. Bjorn Nielsen.
Good evening, Nicholas Vera, architect for the applicants. In fairness to the board, in lieu of what just happened, I'd like to submit some modifications to these plans, including a site plan landscape plan that you didn't have a chance to see today. Just for the record, I talked with the neighbor, Elizabeth Mapes, who asked for a modification on the corner of James Street and Post Lane. She saw the plan, she loved what I did. I kept that whole corner open like it's been in that community forever, according to her. I believe Mr. Hoag asked me to make sure that my eaves met the pyramid. I made some adjustments on that. In fairness to Mr. Hoag, was not here tonight. I'd obviously like him to see those. So I'm sure that you're going to ask for an adjournment.
So can we cut to the chase and just,
You can cut to the chase and ask for the adjournment and vote on it, and that'll be fine by me.
okay, so
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
make a motion to approve applicant's
Make
request
life
to
easier.
adjourn thankfully. Second, anybody?
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Nick.
Next application, please.
Next application is 230 Potato Field Lane. Kevin O'Connell.
Sorry?
Who's this? Willie Street. Willie Street.
Fuller Street.
McGee is for next meeting. This is James, right? Wait a second. Which one was this?
That's Steinberg.
Wait a second, I have to refile this. This is Willie, this is Steinberg, and this is James. You've just given me three different things. How wonderful.
Blame Christina.
Hi, name is Robert Gruber, architect. To get an approval to put a second-story addition on an existing ranch house on Potato Field Lane. The house will, I assume everybody's reviewed this, these plans were submitted to the building department? Okay. The house, it conforms to all the square footage requirements, both gross floor area and total living area based on the lot size. The house will have architectural shingle roof on it. Matter of fact, I have a sample of the roof shingles back there, so if I have to bring them up one, I'll get them. This is the asphalt shingle roof that will be on there. We'll have a red cedar perfection shingles on the outside of the house. All the trim will be a white trim, AZAC trim. There'll be Anderson windows with simulated divided lights, 6/1. If anybody's got any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Comments?
No, Brian?
I know Ham's going to object about the stone.
Yes.
He's going to want to see brick on there.
On the fireplace in the back?
Yeah.
Yep.
In the back of the house, that is.
That's okay.
You want brick?
Your name for the
Sorry,
record.
Kevin O'Connell, I'm the
You're
applicant.
the applicant.
Prefer brick.
Brick is more harmonious with our village.
It's more traditional for the area.
And I did not see a streetscape in the file. Do you have one?
Streetscape?
Yeah, as to how it's going to look in relationship to the houses on the same, on the street?
We submitted pictures of the neighbors, but not of
houses on
the...
both sides.
Yeah.
And a picture of this house as it exists today.
Anything else, Brian?
That neighborhood is full of
Yes.
these kinds of houses. So
That's why I said
I don't have any photographs in the file.
I would like to see a brick chimney, though.
Mr. Brady, would it be okay if we wrote that in, or do you need to see it redrawn with the brick?
Mistakes happen. Mistakes happen, and what will end up happening is, I'm not saying that you are that applicant, but if you decide to go and do stone and the plans show stone, it may get overlooked. So it would be best that you change the plans to reflect. I know it's a
And
pain.
resubmit for the 26th?
Correct. Anything else other than these stone to brick change?
Yep.
Anything with regards to the windows, window treatment?
Windows are fine. It is 33 feet tall. Again, that neighborhood has that in there.
Oh, that section of the neighborhood.
Right. Yeah.
Anything, Christine?
Photos.
Those are the photos of the streetscape.
That's the existing, and the other two.
I guess those are the round windows,
This is some of the. Any public comment on the application? All right, we would need to see that, so if you can just
So
show
we're
us
going
the.
to adjourn and resubmit the plans with a brick fireplace.
Thank you.
It'll be on the docket for the 26th.
Great.
Okay.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
Make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 230 Potato Field Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Next application, please.
Sean Avery, 84 David White's Lane. Oh, sorry, 175 Woolley. I beg your pardon. Sorry.
What is it?
175 Woolley.
That is it. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
That she said it's the same as what's in the file.
Okay, here's the affidavit of mailing.
I don't have a dog to carry. I don't have.
No baby?
No baby in a pouch.
I got nothing. I'm sorry. Hi. Lisa Zaloga, architect for Amanda Taylor, who is 175 Woolley LLC. This is a house that was renovated back in, I think it was 2006. Added on to, renovated. They got a bunch of variances, and I don't know if you look at the survey there, they took an existing garage and turned it into a pool house. It's like in the middle of the property. This is a corner
The
lot.
pool's behind it.
Put the new garage behind it. So we're actually going to demo that pool house because it really kind of jumps in the middle of that property. So we're going to demo that pool house, and we're going to do a little 99 square foot addition to the garage to give them a little bit of a pool house. I got a variance to do that. It's 520 square feet, so it meets zoning. And we're putting a porch on the west side of the house. That's it.
I like it. It's
Thank you.
clean, it's good, the proportions are simple, it looks like a lovely little village
Look at the
house.
roof line.
The roof line is simple. The roof line is really simple.
It's a porch.
Christine, comments?
No.
Brian?
With it.
I really like it,
Absolutely
it's
fine
very
with it.
sweet.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve 175 Woolly LLC.
Was that the
Second.
first one tonight?
I don't know.
It almost feels that way.
Thank you,
Second.
Lisa.
Thank you, guys.
Good night. Thank you. Good luck with it. Next application is Sean Avery, 84 David White's Lane.
We didn't vote yet.
Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry.
I seconded.
All in favor?
Aye. I told you I'm not good, any good after 10. So.
9.
Good night.
That's what
Good
we
night.
want.
Good night.
We don't want meetings to go past 9 o'clock.
No, what happened to that?
I know.
I make a motion that we have no more meetings after 9 o'clock.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, this was left by her. I believe, or somebody else. Hi, Lucas Cowart of Stella Montrahani Architects. Here we are proposing a second-floor addition to an existing one-story ranch, also an addition of a pool and a small accessory structure in the back to complement the pool. Our application, we're trying our best to be very sensitive to the neighborhood, the scale of the houses in the neighborhood. We're actually about 1,000 square feet under the allowable coverage. And I'm going to keep my presentation short, but it's getting ready. Any questions you have?
What's the roof material?
Right now, we're proposing a black metal roof.
Sorry?
Black metal, standing seam metal roof.
Where is this on David's White?
84.
Near Hampton Road and right behind.
It's right next to the child center, the child care center.
Right.
Next to
Okay.
Farrell's condos.
Okay.
Oh.
Do we have another
I need
copy
to
of the
digest
plan?
this.
No?
Pardon me?
I need to digest this. It's
Yeah,
a very
it's
modern.
very modern. It's very modern.
Is there, I know the applicant probably proposed this and wished to have, but is there any inspiration behind such a modern home in such a residential community?
This is a complete
It's partially the
departure
applicant.
from-
We feel, it is a modern home for Southampton Village, but, I think we made an attempt to stick within a lot of the parts of traditional homes. We have a gabled roof, we have the front porch. we have-
Gable roof with a non-indigenous material.
Well, it's he just presented a black asphalt shingle roof. There's a lot of black asphalt shingle roofs in the neighborhood, so we were, we actually have examples of neighboring houses in the neighborhood where they have black windows and doors and black trim and black highlights, so it was, we didn't think it was going to be that. And we're
Is this
open
the
to-
front?
That is the front facing the street, yes.
So a lot of what's modern
Is in the
It's
back.
happening in the back.
disappears to the back.
Mhm.
Yeah. There was a very conscious attempt to keep the elevation facing the street, which you have. This is just show some vegetation. Very modest and simple and non-intrusive. And everything that does happen, that's a bit more aggressive in terms of architecture, happens in the backyard.
This is a lot for one evening. I'm just going to be honest with you. A lot to digest, a lot to really take in, and that area is very sensitive. I think this mimics more of the Range Rover dealership than it does the homes that are in the community, because to me, it just gives a feel of a little more of a modern. I don't know if it's quite frankly if it could fit into that community. I want to take another ride by and take a look and see and take in content the actual design itself and ride through the community and see what we feel. Brian, what do you feel about this?
I think it's a really cool house, but I'm just not sure. I'm with Curtis. I have to ride by and try to digest it a little bit. And it's late at night, so I don't want to dive into it right now.
Christine?
I feel the same way. I definitely need to go over and look at the site and
Esther?
look at these plans again.
I would have gone today. It was not exactly the best day to be walking a property, but I like the simplicity. I think the lines are very clean, but I would agree with the other board members that we should take a look at it in the context of the other houses on the street.
I have
Would you
photographs
like
here
the
of
design?
neighboring
That would be
houses.
helpful, yeah.
And there's even one here that's very clean and
Yeah.
simple. And there's actually,
Any public comment on the application? Please step forward.
Well, I'm Sean Avery, the homeowner and applicant. So
I appreciate you taking the time. I know that it's been a long night, no question about it. Digesting it, I think is a good idea. I think that I can already see you sort of looking at this house and saying, oh, you know, there's a lot of modern materials. I think when you're standing from the street and you look at this house, it's a very traditional house. I think that, you know, I'll just give you a quick backstory. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I played for the New York Rangers for 8 years. I decided to move to Southampton in the summers because of the tradition of Southampton. I didn't go to Montauk because it's a little bit too raucous, and the town of Southampton and everything it represents is something that I want to be a part of. What I don't want to be a part of is, in my opinion, a traditional feral type house that has no identity.
No one said Farrell's homes were traditional.
No.
You mentioned that.
No,
I don't think any of us said
Oh,
that.
no, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Based on my opinion, I wanted to build a house that sort of represented the movement of where Southampton, I think, is going. And that is not every house on the street is going to be a house that's passed down from family and generation to generation. There is some new elements and youth that are coming into Southampton, and I think that I'm part of that movement, and I think that we also have a different aesthetic that also has a lot of tradition based in it. And I think that this house is respecting all of the guidelines. We've worked our butt off. I hired, in my opinion, the best architect in the East End. Sorry, Mr. Brady.
That is not a good. That is not a good
That's not my
start.
style.
That is not.
But I just wanted to make sure that I gave you a little bit of the backstory on this house, and that you know there is somebody that's going to live here, and I have been here for in excess of 7 years renting, and this is where I want to live, and this is going to be my dream home. So that's.
Despite all of the pageantry of this evening, we are sensitive to the applicant having a little license in terms of creating and designing his or her own home in a manner that suits their style, their needs, and their requirements. We are. But we also have a responsibility to be sensitive to the community as a whole. David Weiss Lane is not the historic district, so the parameters of the historic district don't suit that, but it's still an important area of the village, and it's extremely, it's the classical residential community, except for the Range Rover dealership and Farrell Home and everything else going on.
That built a townhouse complex.
Yeah, we are aware of that complex, but we're gonna again. We'd like to give you the license to construct and build what you feel suits your style, your taste. We can't legislate taste because it's an impossibility. But we are going to go through. We're going to go to the lot. We're going to take a look and see it in content of where what's being constructed and the community, and we'll come back at the next meeting. That's what we can promise.
And just another point on the streetscape, we should really have the properties that are contiguous to it and across the street from it. You have a
That was submitted in the original application, I believe. There was a page.
of photographs?
Yes.
I don't think they're in the file.
We can certainly bring them next time.
So you might want to bring, things do get misplaced, so, and I just want to go on the record and saying it's very refreshing, and I think the lines are really clean and simple, and
Right.
I agree with you that the front facade on the street, it really is very clean and traditional in feeling, so I'd agree with you, Zach. But thank you for the backstory on who you are. It's nice to know who your neighbors are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just saying to Brian that I love the style of this house, and it's sort of exciting to think that
David
it could
White's
go on
Lane.
David White's Lane, because if you've lived here for 50 years, the whole idea of that being on David, I have to wrap my head around this and look at it. I mean, it was enough for me for Farrell to go behind the Range Rover place, but this is, it's lovely design, it really is, but it has to fit in.
And we were, again, sensitive to scale as well. I mean, if you look
Maybe
at the
it'll-
drawings, we can go much higher.
And do we have a landscape plan?
You have a survey, but we can work on the landscape.
We need a landscape plan. That will be very important for this application.
Yeah, we have our site plan, but we haven't hired a landscape designer.
Okay, so the landscape plan and then the streetscape would be really helpful.
Okay, very good.
Thank you very much.
Nothing further from the public, nothing further from the board. Requesting this board to adjourn, correct? Motion to approve the applicant's request to adjourn.
Make a motion that we approve the applicant Sean Avery's request to adjourn David Huxley until the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next application, Richard Gelfond. 2 Squabble Lane. Good evening.
Frank Greenwald, architect for the applicant, for Richard Gelfond.
So it's not stucco, it's cement.
Frank Greenwald, architect. This is number 2 Squabble Lane. It's all the way down at the end of Squabble Lane, the last house on the right side on Wickapog Pond. It's a new house. We've been through sort of all the other agencies, except for you. And it's a new house, about 8,600 square feet or something like that. It's nowhere near as large as it could be on the lot. It's a fairly small house. It's completely conforming with regard to all the zoning.
Did you say an 8,600 square feet is relatively small?
He did.
Relative.
Okay.
He did.
Relatively small.
Such a tiny house.
How big is the lot?
Compared to the
How big
houses
is the
that we
lot?
do. I think the max allowable is 20, I'm sorry, it's 12,000 feet.
And
on
how
this
big is the lot?
Almost 3 acres, I believe.
So in contents, it's not as large as it can be.
It's not as large as it can.
Exactly. I would not want anyone watching the video to say that we consider it 8,000 square foot
small
home
house.
Small. I have to make that.
Yeah.
So please continue.
Well, I mean, considering this neighborhood, there are some monstrous
Yes, there
houses.
are.
I've done several of them now.
That's correct.
It's a contemporary house, although it's, I mean, you can see sort of from the elevations that you have and
Elevation of
the
this house.
renderings. It's a contemporary house, but it's
Maybe some neighbors.
very traditional materials.
It's at the end of the lot, correct? I mean, end of the road?
The end of the road on the right side,
What is the front, the setback on the front yard?
80 feet, I believe.
Sitting back 80 feet.
I believe it's an 80-foot front yard
It's a
setback.
survey.
Yeah, it's on the side. It's traditional, it's sort of traditional materials, I would say. It's a gray stucco. We're sort of not quite there yet, but that's one of the samples we're working on. It's a lead-coated copper roof. There's a stone wall in the front of the house. This wall right here that sort of runs through the house, which would be sort of a traditional-ish stone. It's fairly well screened from the street. There's a huge wetlands buffer on the back side of it. There's a pool on the back. There are some second-floor decks on the back of the property, off the upper family room and off the master. You can see here and here. They are looking out at the pond. I think the street is a mixture of traditional homes and modern homes. There's a very modern home right across the street from it on the ocean. I can't remember the names. It's sort of directly across the street from that. Leonard Stern's house is just to the east of that on the ocean, which, although it's not a modern home, it's a sort of a much cleaner line traditional home. Yeah, so this is the rear side facing the pond. This is the street facade. This is what you would see if you'd sort of go through the hedges and look at the front of the house.
If you could do us a favor, just pick up the render, color render, pass, and transfer it, I'm sorry, just turn around and show the camera so they can have it on public record, along with the actual elevation itself. If you could pick that up and turn that to... And the aerial. Is there any public comment on the application? Brian?
I think it's a great house. I think it's a great combination of traditional and modern. I think it's appropriate for the neighborhood. I think the scale is fine. I have no issue with it.
Kristen?
I agree. I love it.
Esther?
I think it's really well done. I love the materials, I love the scale, I love the proportion, I like the way it's sited on the property. And I think that with the landscaping, it's going to be marvelous, really just a marvelous, marvelous house.
You have received all of your approvals to the ZBA?
We have everything. We're just waiting on Health Department, but it's coming. And we have, yeah, everything is in the building department, in the building department.
You're well screened from your neighbors?
It's very well screened from the neighbors, yes.
And that's the complete landscape plan that you have?
This is the complete landscape. There's a very large wetlands buffer that's been installed.
And what are the dimensions of those, of the trees and the hedges?
The hedges along the front are, they're actually existing. They're these enormous privet balls that we're sort of clustering together.
So you're going to be relocating them?
They're relocated, yeah.
Okay.
All of these are sort of these enormous
So they're
privet balls.
mature plantings?
Yeah, they must be 15 feet high.
Terrific.
Yeah, and there's a sort of a big buffer that gets planted along the neighbor's side. I understand they're coming in also for a new house. Fairly contemporary, so. And we are in conformance with the height above average existing grade, so.
Motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve the application of Richard Gelfond on number 2 Squabble Lane.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Final application for this evening.
Is Charles Galante, 52 Prospect.
Feels like Friday. Okay. So my name's Sean Helgeman. I'm the architect for the applicant, Charlie Galante. I blew this up. I think you guys have everything that I'm showing tonight, and I just blew this up to help briefly illustrate what it is we're doing. It's an existing home, and right now there is a front porch here. The changes to the exterior include just this covered section right here. Right now it just comes straight out following this plane, and so we're wrapping it around to balance on both sides. The other thing you can see from that side is this. This dormer is currently just 1 or 2 windows, and we're extending it the full length to give the master bedrooms more space. This is a view from the side, the other side, and we're making no changes here, but you can see that this is where that's where the existing roof line that we're gonna
That you're matching.
mirroring on that side, yeah. So, and then other than that, we're adding a pool.
Did not press
You
it.
don't look at pool.
Okay, great. So that's it.
Pool house,
There's an existing pool house garage on the property.
any changes to the aesthetics of the pool house?
There's like a horrible tin pergola off one side that we're going to take off.
Right.
Other
And
than
it's-
that, and replace the garage doors with something a bit nicer because they're old.
Is there a style in the garage doors that you're changing to?
Actually, no, we haven't made a decision on that. Right now, it's like a 1960s Sears Roebuck garage door. So
Yeah, and it's a CMU building, so we'll probably put shingles on it to match the house. So
Shingles on the garage itself?
yes, yeah. So
Is that part of this application?
It would be, yes. It's in the drawings, just noted here. The pool equipment will be in that space. So
Any public comment? modest changes, modest, in keeping. Actually, I think it improves the house. Any
Yeah,
issue?
I have no issue with it.
Christine?
No, makes sense.
Yeah, you're just cleaning it up, keeping
Yeah,
it
we're
nice and
just cleaning
simple.
it up, yeah.
Yeah, I have no issue.
Motion to approve.
Make a motion that we approve the application of Charles Galante Incorporated at 52 Prospect Street.
All right.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. And I did want to just say that I gotta really commend you guys for your patience. I've been to a couple of these. You guys are amazing. I would,
Thank you.
how you keep your composure, really. I want to jump up a few times myself. So thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Left there were minutes from December 8th. All members were present?
No.
I was here, yeah.
Was I here?
No.
I thought that you were
Yes.
December 8th.
I was December 8th, okay.
I came
All
back.
board members had the opportunity to review the notes. I'm sorry?
I'm fine with it.
No issues, no comments, corrections, concerns? Motion to approve the minutes from December 8th.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from December 8th, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And motion to close this evening's meeting at 11 o'clock.
I make a motion to close the meeting for the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for January 12, 2015.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good
Night.
night.